Very quiet. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see everybody here. We're running a couple minutes late, so we'll go ahead and call today's meeting to order. This is the morning meeting of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners for October 6, 2025. It is 9:03 a.m. If I could have everybody stand for the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you again. Welcome, everybody. We'll go ahead and take care of a few business items at the beginning of the meeting. We'll go ahead and acknowledge that we have a full board here this morning. We also, at this time, take a brief moment of silence. So, if you will, we take this moment of silence for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you very much. I want to make an announcement that today's meeting is being broadcast via YouTube only. Our channel 492 is not operating today, so if somebody is typically looking or watching the meetings on 492, they'll need to be directed to the YouTube channel. Some modifications to the agenda. This note for item 7K, the adoption of IDA bylaws and bond application. Just again, want to make everybody know that the IDA bylaws were affirmed by the IDA board at their last meeting and is scheduled for final adoption at their October meeting. The bond application has already been formally adopted. So in essence, the IDA reached a consensus and agreed on the bylaws that are in our agenda packet, but they still need to do a formal motion and second, which they will do at their next meeting. I have a few announcements. The Italian American Festival is October 11th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the county fairgrounds. Those proceeds benefit the Family Life Center, aiding victims of domestic violence in Flagler County. Our upcoming meetings, we have a workshop on Monday, October 20th at 1 p.m., and our next regular meeting is Monday, October 20th at 5 p.m. All right, so we will move to our recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. First, we have a recognition from the Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Saving Award. So our Chief Mike Tucker will come forward for his recognitions. I always love this part when we get to see Chief Tucker and our great fire rescue staff. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Dance, members of the commission. Obviously, it's good to be seen, especially when I get to hang out with these guys because they do some pretty phenomenal stuff. And it's always an honor, to come before you and present, our life-saving awards for the things that they do, day in and day out, because they do a lot. Last year. You will get our annual report, in a few weeks, but we finished the year with 20,111 calls. So they stay exceptionally busy. But from time to time, we get to highlight a specific incident or a couple of specific incidents. And today, I want to introduce Rescue Supervisor Bo Krutoff, paramedic firefighter Marcus Ellis, and paramedic Sebastian Bowden. He's really got a hyphenated name, and I really try to keep it straight. But on an evening last month, Rescue 25 was dispatched to a fall patient. And again, we get pre-arrival indicators of what's going on the incident, but they were dispatched to a simple fall patient. Upon arrival, the crews did a rapid assessment and quickly revealed that the patient was pulseless and apneic, no heartbeat, no breathing, long way from a fall. So the crews transitioned to working at cardiac arrest. CPR was initiated and ventilations were administered via bag valve mask. Rounds of CPR were completed and return of spontaneous circulation was accomplished. The patient was transported to the hospital and en route did lose pulses again, and they had to initiate these maneuvers again, and were able to get ROSC back on the patient. And the patient was admitted to the hospital and was actually diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism. So sometimes things that look like a cardiac arrest turn out to be something a little bit different. But the good news is this patient survived and was discharged from the hospital and is now home enjoying her family. And obviously, as we approach the holiday season, that's a pretty significant event, for them. So we're pretty proud of them. Rescue Supervisor Krutov, I think I've pointed out to you before, is one of our graduates from the Flagler Palm Coast Fire Leadership Academy, and is a local, product for us here in Flagler County, and we're pretty proud of him. Firefighter paramedic Ellis has just recently become a paramedic, and I believe he's going through the clearing process now for his 4 shifts in. So he's not that he's counting. And it's a pretty rigorous process to go through our phase 1, phase 2, and then ultimately he has to test out in front of Dr. McCabe. So his stress level is still a little bit high. And then Sebastian just recently joined us about 2 months ago from EVAC, and is one of our single cert paramedics, and will be going to fire school in January. So, again, these crews do this stuff day in and day out. They're phenomenal. It's an honor to be a part of the team and to be their leader. And I can tell you that the future of Flagler County Fire Rescue is bright, and the citizens are being served by some of the best that I've ever worked with. So I'm going to go. If you see Rescue Supervisor's chest, Krutov's chest here, he's already got a few of these. So we're going to have to figure out how to get him a bigger award. So I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
So make sure we give you the right one here. I'll present. Mark, is that one yours? Thank you for your time,
Well,
Commissioner.
congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work. We'll don't leave yet. We're going to get a picture, but it's always good to hear, right, somebody from no pulse to living. So it's a great story.
In the chair or else. Watch out, whoever's behind him. He's so big. Thank you.
Super. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Good job.
So, Chief, you got to put off the chili cooking for a few months, right? Okay. To perfect. All right, we'll move on to proclamations. This is the week for Fire Prevention Week, which is October 5th through 11th, 2025. Again, we will have Chief Mike Tucker come forward. And who has that proclamation?
I do.
Oh, Commissioner
This
Pinkton.
is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing October 5th through the 11th of 2025 as Fire Prevention Week in Flagler County. Whereas Flagler County is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting our county, and whereas fire remains a serious public safety concern and the presence of lithium-ion batteries in many household devices introduces unique fire risks. And whereas most of the electronics used in our home daily, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys, are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat, start a fire, or explode. And whereas the National Fire Protection Association reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium-ion batteries, and whereas residents should follow 3 key calls to action: buy only listed products, charge batteries safely, and recycle them responsibly to prevent battery-related fires. And whereas lithium-ion batteries store a large amount of energy in a small space and improper use such as overcharging, using off-brand chargers without safety certification, or exposing batteries to damage can result in fire or explosion. And whereas the proper disposal and recycling of lithium-ion batteries help prevent environmental hazards and reduce fire risks in the home and community. And whereas Flagler County first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of fires through prevention, safety education, and community outreach. And whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week theme, Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home, serves to remind us the importance of using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely to reduce the risk of fires in home and communities. Whereas residents are responsive to public education measures and are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that the week of October 5th through the 11th, 2025 is Fire Prevention Week in Flagler County. And we remind everyone of the theme, Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home, for Fire Prevention Week 2025, and urge all citizens to support public safety activities and efforts of fire and emergency services. Adopted this 6th of October, 2025, attested by Tom Bexley, our clerk, and Andrew Dance, our chair. Okay,
Motion?
you say lithium 10 times.
I know.
May I make a motion to approve the proclamation of Flagler County Board recognizing October 5th through the 11th as Fire Prevention Week.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Proclamation's approved. Thank you, sir.
Well, good morning again, Chair Dance and members of the commission. Obviously, it is always an honor to come before the commission. And Fire Prevention Week is one of those times when we have a specific message that we want to get across to everybody in the community. The father of the U.S. Fire Service is Benjamin Franklin, and he's famous for saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's exactly what Fire Prevention Week is, and our fire prevention and our community risk reduction efforts is to try to minimize the instances where we have to respond to a home, because the cheapest fire to fight is one that never happens. And so it's sort of when the fire happens, it's like closing the barn doors when the horse, is already out. And as I said in my previous presentation, we've topped 20,000 calls, this year. And next year, that number will probably go up by an additional 3% if we just continue to look at the statistics and projecting out. But our goal is to try to prevent these fires. We're one of the few industries that are really trying to put ourselves out of work. We have not been successful in doing that, and we probably won't. But the issue of lithium-ion batteries, rechargeable batteries, solar panels, all of these devices create a unique risk inside of homes. And so this is where the homeowners and the individuals that own and operate these kinds of devices have the ability to keep themselves safe so that we don't have to respond to them. I am now in my 41st year of doing this job, and I will tell you that it has become much more complex than it used to. Riding down the road fast and spraying water on fire is not the answer, anymore. What they're responding to now is way different than it used to be. So we thank you for your support. We thank you for this proclamation, and try to help us drive home that message of homeowners and business owners keeping themselves safe so that we don't have to respond to their properties.
All right, great. Thank you. And for the message, I appreciate that. Like you said, the best fire is the one that doesn't start. So, and we'll do a picture. If you want to come back up and bring your other fire rescue back up, we'll do.
If they're still here,
more
willing to
pictures.
come back
They're still
up.
here.
I made them promise I wouldn't speak. Yeah, but I will point out, Commissioner, while they're coming up, the fact that we'll be ready for the sheriff's office in February when they when they are ready to do chili again.
Little competition. Right?
Oh, this way. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Different angles. They got one. Thank you, Chief. Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's nice, thank you.
Our next proclamation is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is October 2025. This is requested by Brianna Miller of the Family Life Center Domestic Violence Outreach Advocate, and reading the proclamation will be Commissioner Richardson. Y'all can come on up.
Good morning. A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of October 2025 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas, home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security for most of us. Home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, their home is tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas family violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, ethnicity, and economic stature, with one of its greatest tragedies being its effect on our children. And whereas an estimated 4.8 million cases of domestic violence occur each year, tragically killing an average of 3 women every day nationally. And whereas the Family Life Center, the only certified domestic violence emergency shelter and rape crisis center in Flagler County, provided over 5,800 hours to service our victims over the past year. And whereas each October, the formal recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month allows the community to acknowledge and show their support for the victims of this horrific crime. And whereas Family Life Center, the Flagler County Advocate Alliance, and Flagler County Domestic Violence Task Force membership are committed to confront the crisis and are working together to increase public understanding of this problem, mobilize community efforts, and to end domestic violence in Flagler County. Now, therefore, it's be proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare the month of October 2025 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Flagler County, and urge all the citizens of Flagler County to become a part of the community response and end domestic violence, to send the message that the crime will not be tolerated in our community. As we spread awareness in domestic violence in our community during the month of October, we recognize that it takes an entire community to stand together and make a difference. Together, we can break this cycle and impact the lives of future generations. Adopted this 6th day of October 2025, attested by Tom Bexley, our Clerk of Court, Comptroller, and Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, Andrew Dance, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to accept this proclamation.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Carney. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Congratulations and welcome. Who's going to speak today? You do such a great
Surprise,
job
right?
always, so.
Good morning, everyone. Candace Wilkie, Domestic Violence Services Coordinator with the Family Life Center. We want to thank you so much for taking the time this morning to read this proclamation and take time. Andy, thank you so much for talking about the Italian Festival. I just got news this morning that there is a possibility it may be postponed. The fairgrounds apparently is flooded, so we're going to go out today and take a look at it and see what that looks like, because, you know, we want to make sure that everybody's safe. So we'll give you an update on that as soon as possible. We know Creekside was postponed this weekend, so the rain hasn't stopped. So we'll definitely give you an update on that. We have a lot going on this month for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. You received the flyer for Rise Up Against Domestic Violence. This is the fifth year that the Domestic Violence Task Force and Family Life Center will be hosting this event at Daytona State College. There's some flyers on the back table for anyone here that would like to. It's a free conference to learn many different topics about domestic violence. They're related to mental health, law, education on strangulation by the sheriff's office, and mental health. So we would love for y'all to be there. Again, it's free, 9 to 3. Registration, there's a QR code on the flyer for that. We also have an open house scheduled on October 28th from 9 to noon. That's an opportunity for our community to come out and learn about our programs and services. We have a lot planned. You'll kind of do a walk in her shoes event where you'll act like a survivor and go through the stages that a survivor does. So we hope to have some of you there that morning. Thursday is Purple Thursday, so we invite everyone to wear purple on Thursdays, take pictures, and post it to social media. And domestic violence is not just by Family Life Center. We are not the only agency in our community that helps survivors. As you can see, we have a lot of people here from Flagler County Sheriff's Office, Flagler Beach Police Department. So my team, we have Brianna Miller is our domestic violence services advocate. Lynette behind me is our domestic violence child welfare. She's co-located at DCF. And our shelter manager, Sherry, is with us as well. Would you like to speak on behalf of the Sheriff's Office? So I'll turn it over to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to highlight that an arrest is only going to go so far without the hard work, dedication, follow-up of everyone here. I'm sure all the victims would probably fall into the same cycle. So without that follow-up and that dedication, I mean, you guys truly save lives. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Even if you didn't come up and speak, the show of support is awesome. So thank you for all the work that you do. Does anybody else have any comments from up here?
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
today. Thank you for all you do. Hey, that was like twins. I guess it means a lot to both of us. I'll say it that way. How's that? Thank you for that.
We do appreciate the Family Life Center, though, especially you've been a great partner with the county. So
Yeah, the county has been, Commissioner Richardson is one of our current board members. Commissioner Pennington is a past board member. Y'all have been so supportive of our agency, and we truly appreciate that.
We're here for you.
we'll come on up for a picture and your proclamation.
Don't forget your paper.
I could do that every day.
He'll take one with yours.
One more phone.
Thank you all. Thank you for all
Thank
you
you.
do.
Have a wonderful month.
See you guys soon. Take care.
I will.
Bye, honey. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful month.
This is a good time to remind everybody that it's the second annual Italian Festival that will be benefiting Family Life Center this weekend,
Maybe.
if it doesn't rain.
Oh, for
Weather permitting.
Bring in some soil.
Weather permitting.
All right, our next proclamation is National 4-H Week. This is October 7th through 12th, 2025, presented by Hope Musgrove of the UF IFAS Extension Flagler County 4-H agent, and Commissioner Hanson will read this proclamation. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation of Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the week of October 7th through 12th, 2025 as National 4-H Week. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far. And whereas 4-H has helped more than 230,000 youth in Florida to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. And whereas during the 2024-2025 4-H year, the program impacted over 300 youth in Flagler County with the help of more than 40 volunteers throughout the 4-H clubs. Whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provides experience where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Flagler County who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And whereas 4-H's network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provide caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim week October 7th through 12th, 2025 as National 4-H Week in Flagler County, and encourage all our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact it has made and continues to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. Adopted this 6th day of October, 2025. Attested to by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Court and Comptroller, and Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, signed by our Chair, Andy Dance. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve October 7th through 12th, 2025 as National 4-H Week.
A second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you. Welcome. And we're going to move right into your presentation. So with the acceptance of the proclamation, Hope is going to go ahead and have a 4-H presentation and summary. So looking forward to it. Thank you again for being here.
We have your proclamation on there.
I will do that picture
There we go.
after.
Got green in here.
I'm Hope Musgrove, the Flagler County 4-H agent. Do I click through? There we go. So 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, empowering youth or young people with skills in leadership, citizenship, and life through hands-on learning in areas like agriculture, STEM, healthy living, community service. 4-H helps youth build confidence, responsibility, and a passion for lifelong learning. So in Flagler County 4-H, we have some community clubs. Community clubs are the heart of 4-H. These clubs bring together youth of all ages, led by trained volunteers, to learn new skills, explore projects, and serve their communities. Members meet regularly to practice leadership, teamwork, and citizenship while building friendships and having fun. So you can see in the pictures, we do have an archery club. There's our sewing volunteers. And out at our old 4-H barn, we had some gardening going on last year. We also have school clubs. School clubs take place during the school day or after school, giving students the chance to explore hands-on learning right there in their classrooms. These clubs connect 4-H projects with academic subjects, build leadership and teamwork skills, and encourage students to make a positive impact in their school and community. We have summer camps. Every summer, it's different. It's based on what volunteers are willing to offer. Through 4-H summer camps, youth may learn new skills and information while building independence, leadership, and lifelong friendships through activities. Summer camp topics vary by year. Last year, we had a sewing summer camp, and we also had a marine science summer camp led by our Sea Grant agent and our ag agent, which are both back there, Carolyn and George. We have our public speaking contest in our schools, which Commissioner Dance was a judge for last year. Thank you very much. The public speaking contest is for grades 4 through 6th. It helps youth build confidence and communication skills by presenting speeches on topics they care about. Participants practice organization, creativity, self-expression while developing one of the most valuable life skills, effective public speaking. Youth compete at a school level, with the winners progressing to the county level. And last year, the Ed Foundation gave monetary donations to our winners as well. We do have county events. County events gives youth a chance to share what they've learned through project work, demonstrations, and contests at the county level. These events help members practice public speaking, showcase skills, receive feedback, and qualify for district or state competitions. Last year, we had youth that came in and sang for us, which kind of gave an outlet other than livestock in 4-H. It was awesome to see. State events, Florida 4-H state events bring together youth from across the state to showcase their skills and compete in contests, and grow as leaders through workshops, competitions, and service opportunities. Members connect with peers, celebrate achievements, and experience the wider 4-H community. Some state events are the State Horse Show, 4-H Legislature, 4-H State Food Challenge, 4-H University, and so much more. And that is my daughter, Charlie. This past summer, she went to everything. She competed at the State Horse Show. She went to 4-H Legislature, where she acted as a state senator in the Capitol, which she loved. She can't wait to go back. And then 4-H University, where she went and stayed in Gainesville and had the opportunity to be on campus and see different classes and explore opportunities. And we do have our livestock show here in Flagler County, as well as other counties. 4-H Livestock Show teaches youth responsibility, animal care, and good sportsmanship. Members learn valuable skills in record keeping, decision making, and communication while gaining confidence and pride in their work. These shows also connect youth to agriculture and their community. And I will say Flagler County is one of the very few counties in the state that has a 4-H barn, which we're in the process of getting a new one, but having been in this job for a year and traveling and speaking to other agents and trying to get input on what they do in their barns, a lot of counties do not have that opportunity for their youth. So thank you for making that happen in Flagler County. A lot of kids would not be able to participate without that barn. And volunteers make it possible. So 4-H thrives because of dedicated volunteers who share their time, skills, and passion to guide youth. Volunteers serve as club leaders, mentors, and project teachers, helping young people grow into confident, capable leaders. To continue offering quality programs, we need more volunteers to join us in making a difference for the next generation. So if you know anybody, send them my way. And that is all.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions for Hope?
Good job.
I will say that I think the livestock show was one of our greatest events that we have in the county. And it's been an honor being a speaking judge, but that is probably one of the hardest things to do, is try and select winners out of the speakers. They all do such a great job. And how many clubs are there, right? What was the recent event, the awards event at the Cattlemen's Hall?
Banquet. Yes, we had 14 clubs last year, community clubs. We have an equestrian club where kids are riding horses and competing at the state level. Kids don't have to be in that club to make it to the state level. Like my daughter is in other 4-H clubs, but we do have the equine club, sewing club. We did have a fishing club, so we're looking for a volunteer for that. Really, a lot of our clubs are livestock based because the livestock show is so popular in Flagler County, and they do have to be an FFA or 4-H in order to show. So a lot of kids take the 4-H route, being the FFA is in schools. I don't know if they've opened a club for FFA at the middle school, but I know that they did not have one. It was just at the high school and only at FPC. So 4-H is kind of the primary route that a lot of youth take to be able to participate in that livestock show. And growing up in agriculture in Flagler County, in FFA, 4-H myself, it was always just livestock, or 4-H was known for just livestock. And now that I'm in this job, there's so many different opportunities, and it's not just livestock. I mean, we have all of Palm Coast where they may not have the interest in livestock, but the sewing was a big hit. There's a lot of kids that don't have knowledge on fishing, so having a fishing club where they can go out and learn those basic skills. And then through doing those skills, they're also learning different things as well. Like a lot of leaders kind of make it mandatory that they do a show and tell or a public speaking, or they're trying to bring in all of these other skills in addition to something like fishing. But primarily our clubs in Flagler County are livestock-based clubs, and it's all volunteer-driven, so it's just based on who comes into the office and wants to lead a club in any specific topic.
So maybe club wasn't the right word, but I was amazed at all the different groups, homeschool groups, and not just the schools, but, so I don't know what the terminology is for those.
They're clubs.
Okay.
Our homeschooling leader chose not to continue this year, however, but she is still a volunteer in our archery club, which is a huge, highly sought-after club in Flagler County. I did just submit a grant to the NRA to try and get additional funding and bows and resources so that maybe we can bring in more youth. We have a waiting list every year for kids to come into archery, but they are clubs with leaders and then co-leaders. So we have a 2-deep rule where we have 2 level 2 screened volunteers per club. So it's really just, everything's volunteer driven and based on who wants to come help.
Well, doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for the presentation. Do y'all want to come up too for the picture? Come on up.
You wore green.
You have purple and green today. You wore the wrong dress.
Okay. Sorry, my boss.
Who's got the proclamation? Oh, you got it. Okay, great.
I gave it to him.
Good job. All angles.
Good job, Samantha. Thank you.
So at this time, we'll go ahead for community outreach. This is a 30-minute time period. It's been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct their comments to the commission.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jane Gentile, I have previously requested officially by email that you remove 7I from the consent agenda for discussion. I am not against the settlement of $125,000. I wish this item removed for discussion to discuss some of the disbursements of the unanticipated revenue you will be receiving. It is not for me. You were 3 real estate agents, and you are well aware that 2 real estate agents were sued, who should have never been sued, who were not supposed to climb roofs. And actually, the reason I want this removed and under public discussion is because Hamilton appraisers appraised the building. I don't know what you pay them. I didn't have a chance to check. And they wrote a report that they inspected the building thoroughly. The real estate agents didn't. Hamilton appraisers said the building was constructed in '98 and is an average good quality, and the improvements are currently in above average condition. As of today, the original roof, built in 1998, has never been replaced. Real estate agents, you were 3 agents here licensed by 475, just as me. 475 does not require realtors to inspect roofs or damage. All I am here for on item I is to ask that the 2 realtors who were improperly sued for not inspecting the roof and discovering damages be reimbursed out of that $125,000 you're getting back for their unjustifiable legal fees they should have never incurred. The county dropped them from the lawsuit. I'm here to discuss that on item, to have you please pull 7I out of your consciences. 3 of you have licenses, and you're well aware that what I'm saying is 100% accurate. The other issue I would like to ask through the county attorney is what is going on the Old Dixie, former Old Dixie Hotel. The land has been cleared according to the building department. No permits have been issued, but are we going through the legal department? Are we going after the fines that we owe them, that they owe us? So please, pull item I, not for me personally, but for 3 members of a profession that 3 of you belong to, and you know.
Thank you.
You don't get asked to walk on rooftops. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please pull that. Please pull that item. Thank you.
Thank you. On your request for 7I, you've had your 3 minutes. The chair will not be pulling that item. The other commissioners may, but the chair will not be pulling it. Thank you. That's your comments. Thank you.
But you have a
Thank
real
you.
estate
Thank you, Jane.
license.
Thank you, Jane.
They're owed the money.
Jane, thank you.
Or what about the other item? The hotel, the money.
We'll address that. We'll address that at the end of the public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because we're owed money, and we haven't gotten it yet.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm waiting for the clock to reset. Although I won't take 3 minutes. I'm Mark Strobridge, Chief of Staff, Flagler County Sheriff's Office. I'm here in my official capacity to try to find out how Chief Tucker got Creekside canceled so he could have 2 more months to perfect his ability to make chili. I don't know if he wants to respond to that, but I just wanted to kind of say, I understand that you need 2 more months because your record so far has not been that great, but I just wanted to kind of ask the question.
Is this a chili war? It sounds it, huh?
For many years, since he had his moment earlier in the meeting to speak about it, I thought I should.
Thank you.
Go get him. Woo!
Oh, boy.
I'm Steve
Good morning.
Davis. I live on the ocean in Painters Hill. I want to discuss some issues with the recent compound flooding analysis provided by Taylor Engineering and the Northeast Florida Regional Council. The compound flood study was intended to be a new chapter in the HAF vulnerability analysis from last year. The vulnerability analysis was required by state statute. The new compound flooding analysis was an elective addition. Both were done using state grant money. Strongly feel that a follow-on study is needed to deal with dune erosion and morphology, which was excluded. Could we show table 5.1 on the camera?
Unfortunately, that is not working today.
Okay. Well, I'm referring to table 5.1 in the study. You can find it later. It shows water levels for a 1% 100-year storm according to 3 data sets. The first column is the Flagler vulnerability analysis from HAF without any compound flooding. The second column is from the USGS compound flooding data set, which was used by Taylor for all the comparisons and all of the compound flooding maps. It is consistently showing higher water levels than the VA study did for simple storms. The Corps of Engineers SACS study, South Atlantic Coastal Study, in the third column, it shows significantly higher water elevations in the north and similar water elevations in the south. This is more or less what you would expect because of the erosion and inundation risk in the north. The SACS water levels vary a lot. They're much higher in the north, where the coastal engineers expect dune erosion removal related to inundation. I had asked Taylor to include dune erosion, but was informed that it couldn't be in this current grant. David Eckert and I requested that dune erosion be included in the beach management study also. It wasn't. I would like to ask the Board of County Commissioners consensus for guidance to the staff to request the Northeast Florida Regional Council to seek a new grant to do a follow-up compound flooding study, including the impact of dune erosion, inundation, and morphology, and reconciling the SACS data. We should try to have this information by the first quarter of 2026. This is critically important information for the county's planning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Raymond Royer, Painters Hill section. I'm here to try to grieve my application from the starting of 24 at the end of the year. And the process for me, my due process, has been violated several times through the process. I tried to go through the reapplication like Andy requested me to do. And unfortunately, it ended up where I had 2 quorums to later be called the votes because they were tied to the applicant, a no vote. That came up later. I talked with the county attorney and Adam. They called me in to do another application for free. And unfortunately, I resulted in front of a board of 6 members, resulting in a tie with a no. The reason I'm grieving this is because I didn't get the right to rebuttal. I could have changed the board's minds before they voted and let them know that because they brought more benchmarks to meet, which I wasn't allowed to ask for a continuous to bring that new evidence to the front. So I don't know how to go about this. I left a message with your secretary, Andy, to get a hold of Greg and yourself, because Greg's in my district, to discuss this issue. On the 15th, I'm going to go with my attorney. I told you last time I came in front of you in my appeal that I will litigate this. I'm giving you a chance before I litigate this because as a property owner, I'm not getting the use of my property, and my covenants and my restrictions permit me to have this what I'm asking for, and my original application never applied for a height restriction. So where this height restriction came from came out of thin air, because if you look at the votes, it started out to be 7. You decided to vote 5 with the board. I appealed it. I go in front of them again. I show them my new evidence that you said I couldn't show, and it changed votes because I did a visual, and the visual changed votes. And I just want to make it clear that after the meeting on the 9th, the chairman from development and zoning came out, and he apologized, and I accept his apology because he might have made a mistake, but that was his mistake, not my mistake. I wasn't granted due process. So I'm letting you know that I don't know how to go about it, so I'm asking if we could discuss it later. I'm willing to discuss it because I always came in good faith.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment, bring it back to the board. For some follow-up, Ms. Petito, the latest on the hotel site, is there anything? Or from legal?
I'm not aware of anything, sir.
And neither am I not aware of anything aside from the fact that the property has been completely cleaned up. I don't have any new updates as to the current progress or where we're at on that, or what other further actions to be taken.
Thank you. Regarding the Regional Council flooding report, trying to remember, I was at the public meeting when they did their presentation. I know there was a bit of back and forth and some recognition of additional work, but I think that's from consensus standpoint. I don't know that we need that, the Regional Council, to direct the Regional Council on additional grant potential.
I believe the council had conducted the work in accordance with the funding that we had. I think this would require us to secure another grant through the Department of Resiliency and then apply that to Northeast Florida Regional Council. So we'd have to be in search of another grant to further those activities.
Should we push that through? Is that something Ansley would be in charge of researching or looking at, or?
It actually had been a combination of, I believe, Adam Mingle and Jonathan Lord through EM and through Growth Management. So I've sent them an email to see if there's another grant opportunity out there.
Does anybody object to continuing to look for more grants?
No.
No, it's important because we need to look at that.
Right. And not only a grant, but how much would it cost without a grant, like funding ourselves? So we need to know both options. So if we don't get a grant, we should put a timeline on it. And then if we don't get a grant, are we willing to pay something ourselves? So
We can certainly look into it. We'd have to get a cost estimate from the council to see what that looks like. I don't remember the cost of the last one. I want to say it might have been 100,000, a little less.
this scope doesn't look like it's as big as the last one, but I think we should also get an estimate on how much it would cost us to do it ourselves.
We can certainly look into that, report back.
Okay.
Taylor's made a lot of money from us, so.
And regarding Mr. Royer, I don't know what his next steps would be or the results of the last planning board meeting, but who do I direct Mr. Royer to, Mr. Mangle or legal?
Andy, I'm going to meet with him after this.
Right,
And I'll
but I
try
mean,
to-
if
we'll try to
he's
get-
looking for an appeal, yeah, okay.
We cannot give legal advice as to what course of action
Okay.
it was, but if he's looking for something procedural, he can refer to the code for
Right.
what the procedure is, or if he wants
Right.
confirmation of the procedures from the growth management department, then such is the case. But at least the legal department cannot provide any type of legal advice to him.
Understood. Just what's allowed. Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments on public comment? Okay. With that, we'll move to consent. Is there any comments on any of the consent items anybody would like to make?
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I have one. 7E has to do with tourism. I asked several questions. Amy was gracious enough to answer them. However, that agreement of $900,000 is, if my estimation's right, 25% of the budget for TDC. I'd like to learn a little more. I was wondering if we could set a future workshop / presentation. We probably don't need more than 10 minutes, but just to become more familiar with marketing in tourism. We do get quarterly reports, and that's okay, but I think we need to delve into, not that I want to know her line of work, but just to see outcomes, possibly see some of the marketing materials that are out there. I'm not on the TDC committee, and I probably won't be for a while, but I just like to be educated.
There's actual issues with I was going to pull it, so I don't know if you want to just, while she's up here, discuss it or just pull it. There's issues with the attachment.
I would say if you've
Why
got
don't we
issues,
pull it?
then we probably should pull it.
Pull it.
So we'll do that.
We'll pull it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on consent items?
Well, I am going to pull only because I didn't get the answers to my questions on 7H.
7H. That's the dune maintenance agreement. Okay. All right, so without any other comments, are there any other items to pull?
I have a question on 7G.
Okay, go right ahead.
I just want, why?
Talking
Why-
to the mic.
Yeah, I know. I'm putting my words together in my
Okay.
head. I'm sorry.
I'm asking to pull that.
Are you
Okay.
pulling
That
it
would
too?
help you.
Okay, then I guess we'll discuss it jointly, then thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Commissioner Hanson?
I have none.
No,
Commissioner
sir,
Bennington?
just to
Okay.
pull.
Commissioner Carney, anything to pull? Commissioner Richardson? Okay.
Oh, good.
So we will pull 7E, 7G, and 7H. So if there's a motion on the remainder, we'll do it for approval minus those 3 items.
Move to approve the rest of the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington for the consent agenda minus 7E, 7G, and 7H. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. So we'll just go through the numbers as they are on the agenda. 7E will be consideration of Second Amendment to branding, creative, and media buying contract for tourism development with Aqua Marketing and Communications. Ms. Lukasik, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Amy Lukasik, Tourism Development Director. I did want to point out, because one of the, out of the 900,000, one of the larger breakdowns is the actual media purchase and advertising. So that actually doesn't go to Aqua. So they do the planning and the negotiating with those media vendors for us. So that 616,000 is the actual ad buys. So if we do something with Expedia or Southern Living, that 616 goes to them, not Aqua or the various vendors. So if you back that out, the rest is their services for that and other components to the contract, such as graphic design. They help prepare the printed materials for us, all of our brochures, and we're redoing a lot of those, so that falls into that scope as well. But we do have the agency come before the TDC. We like to once a year to show those assets and talk more about it. So we can either keep it that way and just make sure you guys are aware that, hey, this is when Aqua's coming, come attend this TDC meeting, or we can do it joint as well, whichever. Either way, okay.
Amy, can I ask you, do you have any kind of matrix of, or some display of where the funds go to them?
Yes.
Through it, I mean, they're pass-throughs, I understand that, but maybe you can
Yes,
show us
I
that.
can, I can
That
share.
would be great.
Yep, I can
Okay,
share you
that
the
would-
very detailed media advertising buys, where they're going, what time of year.
It would give us a little more confidence, I think,
I
if we
love it.
knew
Thank you.
where it was displayed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. The exhibit that Chairman Dance is going to have to sign upon approval has some discrepancies with numbers. So first of all, it states in there that it'll be, this is based on a county-approved budget of $700,000, but I believe it's $900,000, it should say. Second, the deliverable one is supposed to be $84,000 for the paid media planning and $616,000 for the advertising budget, but the exhibit does not address the $616,000. It's left out of the exhibit. So it doesn't explicitly apply how the $616,000 is to be spent. And then deliverable 2 says campaign photo shoot of $40,000, but according to our agenda, deliverable 2 was supposed to be redesign of visitor guide brochures and annual report for $89,280. But deliverable 2 on what he's to attest to is $40,000, and it does not mention the redesign of the visitor guide.
Yeah, I
So-
think I know what happened.
I think something happened,
Last
but-
year's attachments, they somehow got mixed in, so
Yeah.
we'll correct that. The staff report,
Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, is the correct.
Yeah, it needs to address the $616,000 buy. It needs to have the proper deliverable for number 2 and just the right numbers and budget. So I don't know, I know he was supposed to sign it today upon approval, but
We'll go back and correct
it's got all of
to
that going
match.
on in it.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
We'll make sure those corrections are done before I sign it.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want to be signing that one.
No, I'll make sure.
I don't know if that's something we want to table it until it's corrected, or
It's, is there any time sensitivity to it?
No, they're doing the work for us.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
We can bring it back. It's,
yeah, because you can't,
wanna-
yeah, we also don't, it's not bulleted out at all how the 616 is to go, even though it's been verbally explained.
Yep, we can
Just
put
so
that
that we're making
attached.
sure we're approving the proper.
No, I think that would be prudent, if you want to make the motion.
Sure. Chair, I got to see the next date. What is our next meeting date? 20th?
Next meeting, 20th.
Chair, make a motion to table item 7E until time certain, October 20th at 5 p.m.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Pennington to table item 7E, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any other comments? At this time, we'll open this up to the floor. Is there anybody that wishes to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back and close public comment. Motion to table and has been seconded. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move to 7G. Consideration of Addendum 1 to contract with Ajax Building Company for construction of the Nexus Center and the indemnification certifications with the Department of Commerce.
I think we may also, I don't know if legal, are you able to speak on any of this too? I have a summary in my head of what I've read, so I'm just going to go over that, and then I have some questions.
That's fine.
Would that be okay?
I met with staff on Friday to get a handle and a kind of a overview of the rationale and the reasoning behind the matter, and I did get an understanding. I understand the purpose and reasons for it.
Okay.
So I'll answer
Got it.
those questions when they come up.
Okay, so Hamid, hello, sir, how are you? This is in reference to the Nexus Center and receiving the grant. So the way I saw it, and I'm just kind of bucketed this so I can put it in my head, after the original contract with Ajax, the county received the grant from the FDOC requiring the contractors to indemnify the FDOC, correct? And then at that point, Ajax agreed to indemnify the FDOC as required by the grant, but in exchange for the county counter indemnification. So they want us to indemnify them for indemnifying the FDOC, correct?
Right. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hamid Tabassian, County Engineer. Yes, the item for your consideration this morning is to the indemnity agreement with the Ajax Construction Company related to Nexus Center construction. To indemnify the Department of Commerce that provided the grant, $4 million grant. Those the grant agreement and the construction phase agreement with Ajax sort of happened simultaneously. And those provisions of the grant agreements were not included in the
Original contract.
construction agreement. And the Department of Commerce requested for Ajax to indemnify Commerce Department as a subrecipient of the grant. So in turn, Ajax is requesting for us to indemnify them.
So from the keys that I took away in it, the county will indemnify, defend, and hold Ajax harmless from any liabilities, losses or expenses arising from the Ajax FDOC indemnification. And then we're capped at 1.25 on the indemnification. And that coverage applies specific to the FDOC grant provisions, which, from what I could see, was related to subcontractor background checks, confidentiality, independent contractor requirements, and some federal compliance clauses like the equal employment opportunity clauses, wage requirements, license requirements. Who would have normally done that in the course of the original contract? Who would have done subcontractor licensing checks and EEOC work that we're indemnifying over? Would it have been the county doing that on the subcontractors, or would it have all been Ajax from the beginning? I mean, it looks to me like we're indemnifying over them doing what is typical in the course of business for construction. Licensing check, background checks, EEOC, the cost of doing business. Are we indemnifying over that whether or not they did it or not?
That is correct what you're saying. Those requirements would have been done by the contractor.
Right.
And we are at a point that the project is complete. Commerce Department has come and looked through the documents, and it appears that none of those requirements are applicable. The federal requirements that are in the grant agreement are not applicable to this project relative to Buy America, Davis-Bacon, and background check.
If I may interject, just the way it was distilled to me, and I can probably kind of distill it in a simple matter. This was a contract that the county entered into with Ajax for the construction. We proceeded forward. My understanding, as you presented to me, the county then became aware that it was eligible for these additional funding in this grant, which was then going to basically reimburse the costs that the county had already incurred and budgeted and allocated for the construction. The funds that the Department of Commerce is providing, they're actually ARPA funds. These are related to basically the COVID funding. So they come with specific strings. And because Ajax entered into the contract with us for this construction, that contract did not contemplate these specific federal strings that are tied to that funding. So therefore, and because the Department of Commerce requires the subrecipient under the contract, which is actually us, the county, to have the contractor or subcontractor indemnify the Department of Commerce. That was the requirement. Ajax agreed to that. What Ajax then wanted was us to indemnify them because the work had already been done. This ends up being an after-the-fact reimbursement. In my familiarity in the past, I've done with these ARPA contracts on the front end, where we're already preparing everything with our contractors and getting everything lined up to then receive the federal funding to begin our whatever projects we were going to enter into. This was kind of on the back end, where we're receiving monies for a project that had already been commenced, that to a degree had already been paid for. Now we're just receiving these funds to basically reimburse what we were paid for. So because Ajax did this, they did not want to be on the hook after the fact. So they requested such an indemnification for those terms that were included in the agreement with Commerce that may cover them. And the cap in the indemnification solely covered those terms that may affect it. So that's why there was a limit on the amount, on what the indemnification liability was, solely for those terms that were conditions on the ARPA contract. And anything outside of that they might have done is not covered under this indemnification clause.
So we're going to give them indemnification for not being able to produce background checks of subcontractors, capital project requiring any sub-agreements to include these requirements, because they haven't done any of that. It's not in their technical EEOC clauses. It wasn't done in their agreements with subcontractors.
Wasn't done in their agreements with us. If it
Us.
wasn't part of that, those specific federal clauses are not included in our contract. If we have similar clauses but aren't exactly to the terms of the federal clauses, anything that might slip through the cracks in the event somebody goes out there and does a challenge, they want to have that indemnification under the argument. Ajax's rationale is, I acted pursuant to my contract with the county and all of those requirements, unaware of these additional strings that the federal government has attached.
So it seems to me going forward, right? I mean, I don't like the idea of having to indemnify a major contractor to things that seem relatively needed in the industry, like background checks, licensure requirements, EEOC. Seems to me that that would all be in line with them and they'd be able to stand up to it. But here we are, going forward with contracts, knowing that we could have outstanding grants, this stuff should be built in to those agreements, knowing that, you know, we may at some point pop up a grant that could be tied to federal through the state or
Or I would advise if we're going to enter into an agreement that we get the grant up front.
Well,
and
it's
move,
hard
and
to,
move
in
forward.
this business.
Right,
It's
but
shake and bake. I mean, you know, it may or may not occur, but it should be in there
Right, or-
regardless. And the company should be able to stand up to that, or we shouldn't be having them build a $16 million building.
I did ask everyone if we are subject to an auditor, they have audited the matter, that there isn't going to be any red flags that are coming up. I've been told that the audit, that they have substantially complied with these requirements, that the indemnification is just kind of an added protection in the event somebody comes out of the woodwork and files a claim.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's just a shame that, you know, major company can't stand up to that, but here we are. So, and the taxpayers could be on the hook for $1.25 million should any of this come back up in an audit. So, sucks to be us. Thank you.
And there is a downside to us not agreeing to this, correct?
Correct. Well, correct. If we do not agree with to this, and then we may not then complete the application for the ARPA funds, so that we would be forfeiting the ability to receive those funds to reimburse us for these costs.
Just sounds like it's a case of the cart before the horse. In my head, I may be wrong about that, but shouldn't those funds be accumulated prior to the construction? If you know you're getting
That way
those
with this
funds,
one.
I want to make sure that we don't go through this again.
Right. I think, I mean, as I just previously stated, my advice would be if we have a project coming forward, we should look for every possible avenue for funding, and perhaps even tailor our bids or tailor our contracts to even include these additional conditions, so that when it comes time to, if we have to get funding after the fact, that the conditions that are imposed as part of these grants mirror those that already are in our contract. So we would not have to enter into these situations because our contracts are the same. So we've already received our subcontractors or contractors are already acting under these obligations under our original contract.
I think that was Commissioner Pennington's suggestion, right?
Right. That's what. Yeah. And I'm just reiterating it. So that's
Right.
what we would
I want
we
to
would
clarify it a little bit more. Okay.
But you're not suggesting that regular contracts be held to the federal standard throughout?
No, it's going to be, I really would look at it on a case-by-case basis. It's going to really depend how we're going to want to do it, because there are going to be a lot of other conditions that are going to really be applicable to federal funding and these other federal clauses that we're not going to want to be
There's got to
applicable
be
to
some
straight.
sort of general clause that can be built into it that, you know, if we receive outside, you know, you'll comply with whatever. I don't know. I understand some of these were contracts would had to have been built in with the subcontractors, but it just seems to me, I don't like the idea that we have to indemnify, you know.
It's understood. And again, also with the growing shift in how the federal government is actually defining and adding these things, these are some clauses that within the way that the winds are blowing, these may all be gone within the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So who knows?
That's it.
Okay.
Just want to make
Anybody
sure I
else
was
with
reading it right.
questions? Mr. Rodriguez? Okay. This time I'll open up for public comment if there's anybody that wishes to speak to this item. Yes, sir.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. The only thing I see in this application, and she didn't mention it from is some of these federal grants sometimes provide fair wages, and if those are not going to be stipulated in there, you might have employees not getting a fair wage because you're going to waive this off. And I've seen a stipulation like this happen in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where Allentown was on the hook then when it went litigated in court because the union didn't get their fair wages. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is one of the stipulations that, due to the timing of this one, that the fair wages don't apply, especially retroactively in this one, but the point is taken. Anybody else with public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for further action.
Let's get into that time.
Is there
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion to addendum number 1 to the contract with Ajax Building Company for construction of the Nexus Center.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Carney, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. There's no further comments or questions. We'll call the question. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion carries 4-1. All right, we will move to 7H, Dune Maintenance Agreement with Ocean Hammock Property Owners Association. Mr. Tabassian.
Yes, good morning, sir. Hamid Tabassian, County Engineer again. The item before you for consideration is the Dune Maintenance Agreement with Ocean Hammock Property Owners Association. This is similar to the Hammock Dune Owner Association agreement, the maintenance agreement that previously you approved, and this is in an effort to make these areas eligible for FEMA Cat G funding. Currently, these 3 areas, the Hammock Dune Owner Association reached the Ocean Hammock and Hammock Beach Club area are not eligible for FEMA Cat G. This agreement would make these areas eligible for Cat G with future events. So this has been, this agreement has been worked out with the homeowner associations and our attorneys, and this is for your approval and consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so we have a third area. So you said Hammock Dunes, this is Hammock, Ocean Hammock, and then we have Hammock
We have the resort.
Resort.
And then,
Are we in negotiations with the resort right now to make that entire area fall under an agreement?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, we are. And how did the $175,500, I know it's only a mile, or maybe it's a little less than a mile, but how did the funding, I know it does say that the responsibility for building back the dune is only up to as much money as there is available, but how did that 175.5, how did you determine that?
This is based on 6 cubic yard per foot placement of sand by truck haul for that area.
Per year, per 6 years, per, I mean, $175,000 is not going to put very much sand.
It's their share.
It's their share.
It's 12.5% share of the association.
Okay. So that would be contingent upon the state, FEMA, or the state coming in
Yes.
with the remaining?
Yes.
And then the
FEMA
county has an additional 12.5%.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those are my questions.
Anybody else? Any questions? All right, this time I'll open it up for public comment. If there's anybody from the public wishes to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Is there further action on this?
Chair, make a motion to approve item 7H for the dune maintenance agreement with Ocean Hammock Property Owners Association.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Carney. Any other final comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. All right, that finishes up our consent, and see Mr. Mangle moving forward. That means we're going to item 8A, adoption of a resolution to vacate a portion of the plat of map of Favoretta subdivision in the MH1 Rural Mobile Home and R1 Rural Residential Zoning Districts. Lots of numbers after that, but yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Adam Mengel, Growth Management Director. This is very similar. In fact, it adjoins the one that we had at the last meeting. We wanted to have them both in the same meeting. The Foxes were running a little late on their consents, and so we had the HECT, H-E-C-H-T, the owner to the north. This is the parcel to the south. And so they went down the September 19th meeting where the HECs. This is the Fox parcel. You can see it here, outlined in light blue. This is that portion of that town of Favoretta plat, and I'd love to outline it there for you, but it's just part of this. We went through and described it in greater detail, and you also see it on the survey piece with that light outline that's part of your backup. And so I did go through and name these segments within the resolution so that we've covered this. We also named those portions of the unnamed streets and unnamed alleyways that are within the boundary of this legal description that are part of this vacation. Let's see. And so here's the rundown that we had given previously. This is mostly the same, but a little different from the one before. This also was from that conveyance from Marcus Jr. Strickland that requires us to go through this step. The cutouts in this area, they either annex or they complete this review now, this partial plat vacation, or they could replat. And so that's still an option available to somebody who's there who comes in with a large enough piece, they want to plat it into their own subdivision, they could do that. This doesn't affect the ownership or right of convenient access to anyone else in this area. You saw back here on the graphic that access is coming from the west-hand side, the left-hand side of the parcel, along the easement that Junior had designated for access purposes. We don't have anything to do with the maintenance of that. That easement runs south from County Road 200, and so we don't have any maintenance responsibility with that easement. That's how access is given to each of these parcels. No taxes are due on this parcel yet because of the timing of the cutout. I added the parcel number this time and also the acreage for your reference, 7.58 plus or minus acres. All respective utility providers, AT&T, Charter Bright House, and FPL have consented, and we have those consents as part of your record. And then public notice has been provided, not only for the partial plat vacation, but also for the vacation of the right-of-ways. As a request that includes right-of-ways, it's a little different. I've got to do a notice after this meeting that reflects your decision, whether you approve, deny, or continue this. And so those are your options. Again, with that, I'll close. Wait any questions or comments. Submit my report for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions from Mr. Mangle? All right, we'll open this up for public comment. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to address the commission on item 8A? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Final questions for Mr. Mangle? Anybody? A motion?
Chair, make a motion to approve item 8A, the adoption of a resolution to vacate a portion of the plat of the map of Favoretta subdivision in the MH1 and R1 zoning districts for the owner petitioner Philip Fox and Shannon Fox.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Carney. Any other final comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 8B, a regional sports complex feasibility presentation by JLL, and this is presented by Ms. Lukasik.
Good morning, thank you. Amy Lukasik, Tourism Development Director. And I'm going to kick off the presentation and then I'll introduce the folks from JLL. We're limited to 15 minutes, so we are going to jump right in and do a high level, but we'll do a project overview and scope, show you some of the data that JLL collected and reviewed for us, and phase 1 summary, and then the next steps. So just to remind you, refresh your memory, a little bit of background of what brought us here today. On April 7th, during a workshop, a presentation was made by Synergy Sports of a proposed future regional sports complex through a private-public partnership, otherwise known as a P3. There was interest from the commission to continue discussions, learn more, lots of questions, and do a deeper level of due diligence to answer some of those questions and an analysis of the project. So upon recommendation of our county's bond counsel, we engaged with JLL, otherwise known as Jones Lang LaSalle, to conduct a thorough independent review and analysis of all aspects of the proposal, so essentially to work on the county's behalf. JLL, we divided their scope of work into 2 phases. Phase 1, which is the findings that we'll review here today. And what they were tasked with phase 1 was to do a market analysis. And so what we provided them, I know some of you may not know this, but in 2023, the city of Palm Coast contracted with Sports Facilities Advisory Group to do a feasibility study of sports complexes, the sports market in our community. So we have this final report, and then we have their 5-year pro forma. So this document, in addition to Synergy's analysis, so when Synergy came in, you probably don't remember, but they took this feasibility report, they dusted it off, and they had their kind of tweaks to it. So what JLL did was kind of look at the original and look at Synergy Sports, and then additional industry information that they'll share with you. So today, they were tasked with analyzing the market. Is there a demand? And so they looked at other facilities, looked at visitor and participant demographics, and confirmed the proposed venue mix against the market demands with indoor and outdoor. So after they'll present to you their findings for phase 1, then I'll come back up and share with you what phase 2 looks like. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Dan Fenton. He's the Managing Director for Global Tourism Advisory and Destination Development for JLL.
Great, thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning. Excited to be here today, and hope that what we can do is go over phase 1 and answer questions and make sure.
You can pull that mic a little bit closer to you. There you go.
Okay.
That's fine.
So let me just walk you through kind of what we did. We did get some questions from some of the commissioners, which is great. I hope during this whole process that we sort of continue that, because the more interaction, probably the better here. Certainly no bad question in terms of things that you want to make sure JLL does from a due diligence perspective. So we'll go over what we have done so far. A couple other things to note is there is an appendix to this presentation that also has slides that sort of support some of the things that we're going to talk about. We tried to consolidate this to really talk about the overarching findings, and then also leave time even to get some questions today, or make sure that as we continue to follow through with this, we're answering all the questions that the commissioners would like to make sure are answered. This kind of goes over a little bit of what we looked at in terms of just quick overview, the current inventory of fields that the county has. We talked to the Parks and Rec director, for example, because we want to see just what do we have today, because we think that that's part of the overall kind of landscape. We looked, as was mentioned, we looked at the study that Sports Facilities Advisory did, and frankly, we compared, most specifically, their projections to what Synergy has proposed, and you can probably remember there was certainly more aspiration, let's call it, in the proposal from Synergy. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We talked a little bit about things that are included in Synergy's proposal. So if you look at the indoor facility, the outdoor piece, and the overall projection in terms of visitors, The one thing I would say right up front, we do a lot of work in this space, and the idea of being able to have a centralized place that can do both indoor and outdoor sports, we think that's a very big benefit of what's been proposed here. So we'll sort of talk more about that too. This is a little bit about us. So the only point about this is we really have a chance to look at this both from the specifics related to the sports industry, but also to look at this from sort of the broader destination perspective. Because if you really think about success with something like this, it certainly does tie to size and specs and projections, but it also ties to how we are evolving from the county perspective as a destination. And we'll sort of talk about this because we also know there's a lot of exciting plans in the future also related to this area and its sort of development, and we think that's also a positive when you think about success of a complex like this. A little bit from a macro perspective, so this is a couple of macro comments on the youth sports market in general. This is probably somewhat intuitive for those of us that have next generation, potentially participants in the sports area. But you can see how big this is from an overall revenue standpoint. Also the fact that the growth year over year in just participation is significant. And you'll also notice that youth sports continue to sort of outperform others. I don't know if you remember during COVID, but I wouldn't want to say that youth sports are recession-free, but there was a study that was done where families said, as they were starting to think about what they had to go without during COVID, youth sports was one of the last things that families wanted to actually reduce in terms of expenditures. So it is an area that, A, we see as growing, B, the other part that's growing is also the fact that there are always new sports that are coming up. So it's not a stagnant market in terms of what the activities are. That continues to grow, and we think the complex has that potential to be able to support the growth in the future. So this is a little bit about kind of macroeconomics when it comes to youth sports and the size of the industry and the growth there. There was Amy mentioned, in fact, a couple of things we reviewed, so we'll do this quickly. We looked at the advisory report, we looked at the pro forma, and in phase 2, we're definitely going to dig into very deeply the pro forma that has been presented. So in phase 1, we were really focused on the programming specifically and sort of determining whether we felt the market supported the programming that has been proposed. And so these are the things that we reviewed as part of our process. Again, we looked at, and you'll see in a second, and you have it in the appendix, we looked at competitive facilities, and we'll talk about that in a second, as well as existing facilities. So you'll see a couple of things here that we confirmed, if you will, 92 local facilities, 141 regional facilities. We also identified a couple of competitive facilities that you see here as examples. One of the things that's interesting here is there is certainly a lot of supply when you think about the facilities that are there. The big difference in what's being proposed here and why we think there's value in continuing to think about the next phase of the project is what's being considered here really only exists in a couple of places throughout the state. So the growth that you see, for example, there could be a facility that is adding baseball fields, or there could be a facility that's bringing in more capacity for indoor sports. But there are very few. I think we found 2 where we thought they really have some similarities in terms of both indoor and sort of outdoor capacity. So we think that that's an important advantage. But we don't want to downplay the fact that in today's market, because we have been involved with this for years, the difference today in the youth sports market is you can't just build a facility and assume they're coming. So that used to be the case. I mean, if it was 5 years ago, really we probably would have gotten up here and said, look, as long as you have enough square footage and enough fields, you're kind of done. Really now, the organizers are looking for the right experience. They're looking for a lot of additional pieces to make one of these facilities sort of their home when it comes to putting on tournaments. So one of the things that's going to be important as an analysis here is also looking at all of the sort of features that are being proposed and making sure that we're competitive in terms of what we're offering as it relates to the sort of market as it expands. Currently, we think we are, and we think what is being proposed will provide a competitive experience, but that's an important piece, that this is not just if you build it, they will come. market. This is just a little bit of an overview of some of the facilities that we looked at. A couple of things we wanted to note here when you saw that list is if you look at the right-hand side, there's a significant amount of them that we identified that are still in that proposed phase. So these are not secured projects. These are projects that are in discussion. And then if you look at the ones that are above where you can see either beginning construction or under construction, those of course are real in the terms of commitment. But all of these, for the most part, either are focused on indoor sports or they're sort of focused on outdoor sports. So again, this combination that we have, we feel very confident about in terms of this first phase of saying, is there enough demand that would support this? We'll go to the next slide too. You can see, and Amy mentioned this, we definitely looked at population. So one of the things that tournament organizers look at, of course, is if they're building a soccer tournament or building an indoor tournament, they're trying to determine where are they going to draw teams from, do they have the population? Because in a lot of cases, this is not necessarily organizers moving tournaments from one place to another. This can also be them creating new tournaments for what we're offering. So they're looking at the question of whether can they create new tournaments in the area that's around us. We think they can. And also, you notice the thing that we talked about in terms of 1 hour drive and medium household income. So we think that this is we don't just think, as we've talked to a couple of the organizers, but we think this is a market that they'll be able to develop new tournaments in, as well as, yes, move some, but think about the fact that if it's, let's use indoor as an example, if it's, let's say, girls volleyball as an example, they're going to be looking at where can they create new opportunities, whether it's with high schools or population densities that are in the region, and that's part of how they go about thinking about use of a facility. So in most cases, what we find with a lot of the organizers is what they say to us is there actually isn't enough supply because they can see the opportunity to build more in the future. And so that's part of what we believe could be an opportunity here in terms of what's being proposed here. The other thing is we talked about the competitive facilities we looked at. So that's the lower left hand here. Then if you'll notice, we also looked at the current, so today we talked to Parks and Rec Department. They talked a lot about the current demand and how much the fields are utilized today, our current fields and our current inventory. I think you know this. But if you think about part of this being local community or local use, there definitely seems to be excess demand today in terms of the fields we have versus the demand that we have from a community perspective. Now, I caution that comment because when you think about a complex like this, there really has to be the right mix of those tournament-type activities to create the pro forma. But one of the outcomes that would be part of sort of phase 2 or maybe even phase 3 is really determining from the commission perspective, what is that optimal mix? So what does that look like and how does that impact the pro forma? And then also how does it support sort of the community? So there's a combination of that piece when you think about sort of success from the complex perspective. We talked a little bit about the macro piece. This destination considerations here, this is just a reminder about how it's going to continue to be important to organizers, things like hotel inventory, walkability, things that the families can do in and around the time that they're actually participating in the tournaments. So all of that becomes part of the future and part of our ability to continue to compete. And so when you think about kind of the broader vision from that sort of the broader master plan that has been proposed or has been contemplated, there really is synergy there in terms of how that master plan also improves our competitiveness when it comes to the proposed facility. So I'll stop there and turn it back to Amy to talk about next steps, and we'd love to answer questions.
Thank you.
So the reason we did a phase 1 and phase 2, because before we dive further into looking into the proposal from Synergy Sports, we wanted to first answer the question, can the market still bear this type of complex, this size? So if the answer was no, then our work here is done and we would report that. But as Dan says, the answer is yes, that it's still a viable project. So what we then will do is dive further into synergy sports. So there's 6 kind of categories. The other thing to keep in mind as we walk through all of this is that this is a proposed P3, and this has a statute that's attached to it, 255.065. So we are continuing to work with legal, because when this comes back before you, there are certain requirements that you have to be able to answer. And so, just to give you an example, benefits to the public, the financial structure, and the economic efficiencies achieved in the proposal. So all of those requirements that you will have to answer, that's where JLL in this phase 2 is going to help with those requirements. So there's 6 different categories. Probably the categories that you guys have a lot of the most questions about is the second one, the track record assessment, where we'll research previous synergy sports projects. They'll interview the operators of those facilities. They'll review the financial performance of those venues that Synergy Sports has been involved with, and those past deal structures and what they look like now. And then on the other column, the deal structure review, they'll analyze the financing terms, the obligations and risks, those naming rights and sponsorship assumptions. They'll do a deep dive into that. And then the last category, the risk assessment and mitigation planning. So that final deliverable, we look to bring back before you at a workshop in December 8th. And the final deliverable will be JLL's presentation of all of those different categories, and have their recommendations and suggestions. So between now and then, continue to feed us questions if you think of more outside of today, so that we can make sure JLL gets those addressed. And with that, we'll begin taking questions now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Amy, as you know, we toured the Gainesville facility, and our proposal is a little bit smaller than that one, as I recall. Correct?
I think the indoor square footage is
Indoor,
smaller.
indoor, smaller. But I'm trying to, in my mind, who would use that outside of, we've got a big gym at FPC. We've got 2 gyms at, or 2 gyms at FPC. We've got one big one at Matanzas.
Yeah.
And then we have the Carver Center.
Yeah.
So who else is going to use that indoor facility?
Yeah, great question. Matter of fact, one of the things we looked at was the square footage that was being proposed for that facility. Right. And that 100,000 square feet sort of net that is being proposed, that aligns with what the girls volleyball organizers need, what the basketball organizers need. So those youth tournaments that are indoor, there are some very specific specifications that the tournament organizers will give us. And so that sizing ties to that, ties to those type of activities. You know, there's a sort of a whole slew of indoor youth sports tournament activity that we think would be candidates for that.
So the difference is that what we have today, that is the 3 or 4 gyms, indoor facilities that we have today, we don't attract the big tournaments. Is that what the issue is?
It is. Also, when we talk to the Parks and Rec leadership about all this, we definitely, when we heard the volume of fields that we have in our inventory, and I think indoor facilities, we should make sure we validate what you're asking. We did kind of immediately ask the question that you're asking of, okay, could we compete if we essentially just improved what we had? And there's a lot of things that go into how tournament organizers do what they do. Right. And in a summary, I don't think we would be able to compete if we did that and really attract the tournaments that we're talking about. And I think it's the same with the indoor facilities. We will confirm that just to make sure that answer that you're raising, because it's a good one. Because we really did first say, I wonder if there's a way to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish with current facilities.
And the facility that we're talking about, the outdoor facility, is just baseball fields?
No. It's designed for soccer. It's really designed to be multi-use, is the way they've got it sort of programmed.
Will flag football?
Flag football could be one.
That's-
Lacrosse could be one.
Lacrosse,
Soccer. Yeah, and it's an interesting area because if you think about the reason I made that comment about growth is let's use lacrosse as an example. 5 years ago, if we would have talked about lacrosse, we would have said, I guess now it's exploding, in terms of being something that youth participate in more broadly than what used to be. We were even talking about on the indoor side, you've seen the esports area is one of those new areas, not new anymore, but continues to sort of grow. So one of the things that's critical, not to get in the weeds on design, is that this facility, all of it has that flexibility to support those activities.
When we went to Alachua and I had asked the tour guide, what made you determine the square footage of this facility? And he said it's to be able to host those indoor track tournaments.
Right, which we're not going to do, right?
Yeah, we'll be able to do track in that.
Track is a little different. Track has some different requirements, so that's one use we'll need to validate here. The ones that we mentioned, basketball, volleyball, those I'm sure of in terms of the footprint of the building.
Well, I was there when we were listening to that, and it seems to me they expanded their footprint so they could do the oval track, so they could do indoor track. And I didn't think that was part of our proposal.
Not to that. Theirs was like a national competition that they were recruiting. That's the reason they did that. But ours wouldn't recruit at that level. The other thing that
Stop. So we are not going to have an indoor track capability?
Let us just triple confirm that. I don't think so, but we'll make sure.
I don't think so either. I just want to.
We'll make sure. I don't think that is, but we'll confirm that.
The other thing with the indoor that we spoke about, I think when Synergy was here, was the ability to use that indoor for also like boat shows, home and garden shows, our graduations, being able to attract those type of trade events outside of just sports.
Right, well, the Gainesville facility was eye-watering. It was so nice.
Yes. The difference there is they didn't have the outdoor components.
They don't have the outdoor.
No, next to it, no.
I think, Commissioner, one of the things you're raising here, which in this next phase we want to make sure we really analyze, is the multi-use capabilities. Because we believe that as part of any development, that's really got to be part of the consideration.
Would that be useful for convention meetings?
Could be. So that's the types of use that we want to explore.
For exhibits and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're involved with some projects where even entertainment is sort of contemplated and the ability to host conferences. So we definitely want to explore that as part of the outcome here.
One of the things Flagler has, and I have an issue with Flagler coming from South Florida, is our parking limitations.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about big fields and big places, projects, but where does the parking go around the facility? Does it just go in one spot and everybody's hiking across 10 other fields? That type of thing. I don't remember the parking facility situation, and I think that's pertinent to...
Yeah, we haven't dug into that deeply, but we will.
Okay.
Good question.
Okay, that's my concern.
Good one.
So I'm just going to go ahead and get my concerns
ahead.
out so that, because I'm not in the weeds on parking yet, but I noticed throughout this report, there was a lot of talk about market saturation, need to move quickly, you need to move quickly. There's so many people looking at this, which always comes back in my head. If there's a demand for it, the private market would fund it. But here we are in a P3 situation with it, which sends red flags up for me. You project 125,000 hotel room nights annually. That's 342 stays if we did every day of the year, and 2,400 stays on a weekend. I don't know that we even have capacity. I'm sure hotels will come with this, but I don't know. You talk about destination amenities. I don't think we have destination amenities necessarily in Flagler County to attract people to want to bring their events here. What do we have over someone like Ocoee or places like that that are closer to theme parks? It's a stretch for Flagler. And then, we're in the original proposal, I always had problems with naming rights. I mean, you don't nail the naming rights, you're in the red from day one. I don't think Flagler County has particulars. I know that they go above and beyond outside to find naming rights, but when you have all these other sports field complexes being proposed throughout the state, they're going to be vying for the same naming right groups that we are. And I don't know that, we're necessarily going to attract it. And the moment we don't nail the naming rights, we're in the red, as I recall on that. So we're tied to that statute. We have to show benefit to the taxpayer. To me, I've had time to look at this and look at Sports Synergy and see where they've proposed this in other states, and people have looked at it, but doesn't seem to have gone through with it as much. And I think it's just a speculation project, really, for me. And I don't, 5 years from now, lacrosse may be unpopular again. You know what I mean? And here we've got multi-use fields and everybody's playing baseball. Right. I don't, it's like, should the county commission be in the speculative game of a P3 on this topic? I don't know. I don't think so. That's me, and I'm just one of five.
But let me just say something here, because really, Amy used the term viable. We're not quite saying viable yet. What we're saying is we do think there's a market. But when it comes to this next set of work, we're definitely going to dig into all of this very deeply, because the deal structure and all of that is critical. So I really agree with you. Yeah. Essentially, I mean, we really do. We do think that the sort of industry, if you want to call it that, or this overall area is a big one. But if we ultimately, and when we dig into this, think there is either a different approach or really question the current approach and maybe have some different ideas, that's all going to be part of what we look at. So when we use the term viable, we really just mean we think that there is this broader market, right?
It seems like there's a rush by a bunch of, Volusia's in the same boat. They're rushing. Everyone's rushing on this idea. St. Augustine's building, Ocoee's getting ready to break ground on it. And I just keep thinking, I come back to that, like with P3s, it's not something we do a lot around here. And so I get a little nervous on them. And the more I read on these, I see like oversaturation in other areas of the country is starting to happen. And there were some councils talking about losing funding. And so I get nervous because we have some serious needs with infrastructure that we should be looking at. So I don't know if the return on investment is here or not. It'll be interesting. I'm not going to deter anybody if they want to go through it, but I have a hard time the more I've done my research.
Piggyback on that comment, it concerns me that St. John's has already started construction, and I'd like to know what are they building? What are they building up there? Are they doing an indoor facility and an outdoor facility?
They're doing baseball, I think. Baseball.
No indoor?
If I'm not mistaken.
We were looking that up here. 8 fields.
No indoor.
At this point. Right. But I just want to, I mean, that's really why we're here. So I don't want.
You are not the people.
Well, no, but also I just don't want it to be assumed that because we looked at the market and thought there was value, that we think necessarily the deal structure doesn't need to be relooked at, and all those sort of questions, right? So I just,
I look at like a trade magazine must have went out on this, and everybody woke up and said, "Hey, we need a sports field." And I don't disagree, but we haven't even fixed our own baseball fields that we've got here that we need to fix.
I was just going to say, I sort of have that type of a view too. We're a small county, and we're a environmental county. So we don't have that touristy grab that so many other counties have with games and toys and arcades and all those type of elements. So that, to me, concerns me as far as how big this is and the scope of it and the location. And we have issues with roads right now. So how much is it going to cost us to support them if they even come? That's really a finite number that I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with questions? I'll just want to appreciate, thank you for answering the questions that I did send you. And there's lots of common echoes, I think, in these, in the worries, I think, that we're projecting. You know, safeguards that are built in that that protect the taxpayers. Those are phase 2 works. I think the length of what scares me is the length of the term, because of market conditions do change, or like Commissioner Pennington said, changes in popularity of different sports and whatnot. I think the common denominator in all this, which you will do at the next step, is looking at naming rights. That's going to be further evaluated, and comparing them to other facilities with naming rights. Looking at I raised questions about the expense model, wanted to make sure that expense projections are consistent and common throughout. Checking their reserve structure for the first few years, making sure that is adequate. The visitor projections seem to be validated, but I think one of my questions about the location and then where we are at is the hotel supply is critical, but you've done some preliminary research on the regional drive market, but unfortunately that is outside of the county as well. So until we build more hotels within proximity, we're going to lose some of that tourism money, because they're going to be finding outside county places to stay. And then part of it was, I think we have to kind of hone in on those other regional facilities that are in the pipeline and find out if they, what stage of their evaluation they are in. I had brought some concerns to Ms. Lukasik about things I read in the paper in St. Johns County, where there are other real estate, right? Some of the value is in the proximity to these sports venues and what pops up around them. So there's other interest in St. Johns County that I read recently that I don't know if it was on our horizon, but those were where I kind of focused my questions on, and I think one other comment I heard was some other examples of complexes that have failed or didn't meet their projections, and are you going to look at and analyze what went right and wrong in those other complexes?
Yeah, let me go back to almost the first part of the naming rights. I mean, we're going to look at the whole pro forma, right? So we want to make sure that we're totally confident all the way from staffing to, spend per person. I mean, all the way through. And we have asked Synergy. By the way, they've been very open. So we've asked them for all the backup. So more than what you have seen in the presentation, to really understand how the numbers were built, including, of course, naming rights. But we want to look at the whole pro forma too and make sure. And then your point about reserves, I mean, the whole thing we want to think about there is, if you think about any kind of operation that we're involved in, you have to almost look at things like how long, if there was a downturn, sometimes we say, okay, so let's say we project to do X and we're doing 20% less than X, right? What's the sort of insulation / reserve that's going to be needed so we can protect ourselves sort of against downturns or against that sort of risk? And we want to really analyze that question. Right, so when someone says, is $1 million enough reserve, it's hard to just throw that number out until you've really done that analysis to say, what's a acceptable risk from our perspective when it comes to, reserve / insulation. And so we want to make sure we've really looked at that question carefully, because it's an important one. There's no question about that.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Great, well, we look forward to being, sorry.
Anybody else? Okay.
Well, we look forward to being back, and also, just like you have, don't hesitate. Anything comes to mind or you see an article like you have been, it's all helpful. as much as we do this a lot, don't assume anything. Just the more you send us, the more we'll make sure that, we're looking at these items. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there, do you need direction from us on the next steps?
No, I just wanted to share where we were at. It's been a while, and then give you a timeline of where we're looking for December 8th workshop for more detailed results.
Okay, so December 8th is when you plan on coming back?
Shopping.
Okay.
Workshop, yeah.
All right. Very good, thank you. We don't really have an action on this, but I'll open it up for public comment if anybody from the public wishes to speak. Morning, sir.
Good morning, George Mayo, Palm Coast. 2 questions. Who would be responsible for maintenance for this? This facility seems large enough, it's at the county, you would actually have to hire new employees, because I can't see taking somebody cutting grass at another field and taking this on, which is going to be much bigger. And the 100,000 square foot facility indoor, you would need almost a dedicated employee to clean up after the teams. And my other question is, this is a nice indoor facility, and you say that FPC and Matanzas are being used. Would what we would draw into this, would they be new teams, or would everybody say, I don't want to play at FPC anymore, let's go play at the new facility? Matanzas, why should we play here? Let's go play at the new facility. So would the other facilities lose some teams, and would the amount possibly go down? So is it just strictly addition, or is it addition by subtraction? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Morning.
Morning, Commissioners, Chair Dance. Pleasure to be here. And thank you for the opportunity to comment.
State your name for the record, please.
Yep, sorry. Kate Comiskey in the hammock. When I was looking at the proposal, to learn that there's an appendix, I'd like to get access to that prior to the upcoming workshop. But I just wanted to run through some comments and thoughts that I had with regard to this. So this is clearly, it's a sales pitch. You have a developer, you have a landowner, and they've done their pro formas, and they see that there's a way to make money. They're coming to you with this. This is not something necessarily that you sought out. I agree that we have a nature-based theme in our county. We're putting money into an eco-discovery center. That's on the horizon. We haven't even broken ground. Why not just focus on that, and then not some grandiose project like this that we didn't seek? I'm concerned about, if we were to go forward, who are the investors? I noticed that the World Economic Forum is one of the primary global partners of Jones Lang LaSalle. Recently, Brian Griffin, who's the CEO of Visit Florida, he was invited to the World Economic Forum's Urban Transportation Summit in late October in San Francisco, and I'm going to quote his response. I'm going to decline participation. The World Economic Forum's values and stated objectives do not align with the state of Florida, including the World Economic Forum's efforts to transform society through top-down government regulations and institute dangerous programs like digital IDs and central bank digital currencies. We choose the values of Destin and Dunedin over Davos. Individual liberty and national sovereignty matter and should be protected. And then subsequently, our governor on October 3rd, he posted on X, when we said that the policies of the World Economic Forum are dead on arrival in Florida, we meant it. So I don't know who the investors are going to be. I don't know if any of the members of the WEF are going to be involved, but the NFL has just decided for their halftime show to put some dude named Bad Bunny, whatever the heck that is. That doesn't align with my values and people that I know. What kind of programming is going to be dictated if you were to go forward with this project? And then the last thing I'll highlight, based on open source reporting, Alachua County, you may be familiar with this, but the commissioners voted to take control of the Alachua County Sports and Events Center, which was one of those projects at Celebration Point. After the management company failed to meet its obligations, in July, the commission voted unanimously to find that CP Event Center Operations LLC was in default for not paying special assessments and failing to provide required reports. And the LLC is owned by a company which is the developer. So they now had to hire employees to manage this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, John Phillips with the Chamber of Commerce. Certainly in support of this facility to be considered without a doubt, but I think some of the questions that were raised here today are valid. But I do want to talk specifically about the indoor track option. If unless something is opened very recently, Alachua County is the only indoor track facility in the state of Florida. That is a critical need here in the state. They have gotten a lot of business. There are 11 Division II institutions that offer indoor track. There are another 10 NAIA schools that do indoor track. Alachua County has quite literally a monopoly on that market of indoor track for both high school and colleges throughout the winter season. I know we think winter is a wonderful time of year in Florida, but indoor track has to be run indoors, even in our wonderful climate. So there is a big need with only one facility in the entire state of Florida for that particular sport. So a little bit bigger on the indoor space might be of desire to us here as we consider this facility. To your question, Commissioner Pennington, about room nights, I agree that the numbers are a little challenging potentially, so I think we need to do a real deep dive on those. Somewhere between 275 and 350 rooms per night might be a stretch. I'll say that in the nicest way. But we also need to consider, as has been discussed, I think I'm reiterating some of the points you all brought up, but what our competition truly is. In St. John's, if it's baseball only, okay, that's competition, but we're not building baseball fields. We're building rectangular fields under the current proposal. So the growth of flag football, definitely happening. The growth of lacrosse, definitely happening. And soccer is already very, very big in our county, as we all know, because of the, I'll say, overuse of the Indian Trails complex with the soccer programs that are going on here. So those are some considerations that I wrote down. And then the one thing, some folks have brought up the fact that we aren't close to the theme parks and things like that. As a parent who spent thousands of dollars traveling the state, we weren't going to theme parks. We were going to our daughter's soccer game or our son's baseball game. The sports tourism for the tournament we were going to was our primary focus. It was the hotel, it was the restaurant, it was the sport. It wasn't a vacation for us here in Florida. Now, if someone is traveling from outside the state, if we're recruiting tournaments from Atlanta and Savannah and Birmingham and places like that, it could be very different. But for somebody who lived here and drove all over the state with my kids, we were more focused on a quality facility with a nice hotel and restaurant opportunities that were relatively close by. So those are my comments to share, and I thank you all for considering this. And I do think it's worthy of more discussion and more follow-up, and I look forward to the December workshop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. Yeah, I was in the early discussions, and one of the things I brought up is they have to put some more skin in the game. The way I understand it, after 20, 25, 30 years, they're going to turn it over to the county, and the discussion was how the fields are going to be presented. Are they be in good shape? What's good shape? Back and forth. And I proposed that they actually develop a bond issue. And if the agreement at the end of the term is agreed on, they would get their full money back in a bond. If not, that would be granted to us, so the taxpayers wouldn't be on the hook for maintaining these fields later on after it's turned over. The young lady that was up here earlier, I totally agree with her. As you see the society changing, you got these billionaires that are coming in, and they're looking at all these counties, states, and they're looking at the budgets and going, boy, we can privatize these and get these funds and get more funding out of these local governments. And that's what's happening. It's even happening with local fire departments and police departments, because if you look at LA Police Department, their budget's in the billions, okay? So you come in and say, hey, I'll take it over, and I can skim 10% off that and still run it to the ground, because everybody says LA Police Department doesn't function well. Well, I perceive that LA Police Department functions very well with the amount of people they're dealing with and influx of people coming in. So, yeah, you got to look at the big picture. You answered, gave some good questions there. And I think the bigger picture is, I think we can actually table this. There is no rush. I'd like to see what other counties, how they play out with their fields and see what happens. Because if there's a demand today, there's going to be a demand tomorrow, okay? Maybe tomorrow won't be a demand, and then they'll pull out. So the thing is, you got to look at the big picture, because the taxpayers are on the hook, like you said. The Flagler County infrastructure is got holes all over the place. And I mean, you got beach replenishing falling apart. You got roads 110 miles that are not paved. You've got a lot of issues that you have to deal with first. And I'm all about having fields. You know, I was a father at one time, but I also traveled, and that's just the name of the game. And one thing I just want to put out there, Pennsylvania has a Little League, National Little League, actually international, where they bring all players all around the world. And every state is trying to steal that from Pennsylvania. And that was established by private money with no strings attached. That was all built by private money that came in as donations because they gave back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. More questions? All right. We'll close public comment, bring it back to the board, and I don't hear any further questions.
I would just like to make a comment, a
Absolutely,
follow-up
go right
comment
ahead.
to one of the speakers. I'm glad you brought up WEF. When I opened up the JLL project and saw that I had a tough week of it thinking about it. So they are just a participant in the project. Don't see them as an investor. I will be watching the investors. Randy Stapleford had a great thing when I first got elected. He said, you'll have your true north and you need to stick to those topics at all times, those things that you believe. I will not participate in WEF projects. I will not build walkable cities, and I'm sure your wife would agree with you on that. I will not participate in UN agendas. So I know you're a global partner of it. Our governor just came out with a tweet this weekend that said our tourism industry in the state of Florida will not participate with WEF, and declined it. And so we do have to be careful. Not your fault. You're here. You work for the company. You're a global partner of it. So it's no slight on you. I'm just saying I will be watching for that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. We'll move to item 8C. This is consideration of approval of guaranteed maximum price proposal from Meyer Najum Construction LLC for construction of the Flagler County Fire Administration Station 50 by construction manager at risk, method of delivery in the amount of $13,313,508. Mr. Tabassian. Wow, you got right up there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hamid Tabassian, County Engineer. I'm happy to present for your consideration and approval an amendment to the construction manager at risk with Myers Najum for the Flagler County Fire Rescue Administration Building and Fire Station number 50 on Old Moody Boulevard. This amendment authorizes the construction phase services for the new station, Fire Station 50 facility, which will also house Flagler County Fire Rescue Administration offices. The two-story, 19,500 square foot facility has been designed to include 4 apparatus bays, sleeping quarters, and private restrooms, locker rooms and exercise room, a kitchen, dining area, lounge, and the second floor administrative offices, conference rooms, and training room. The project's design consultant Schenkel and Schultz, working collaboratively with Meyer Najam, the county fire rescue and engineering staff has successfully completed the design phase. Meyer Najam has also completed the competitive bidding process and submitted the guaranteed maximum price for the construction phase of the project. With that, I respectfully request the board's approval of the GMP in the amount of $13,314,508.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Tabassian? Did you want to speak? I know in my questions there was some disclosure of the different cost per square foots now for current fire stations and how ours is competitive compared to what's being built now. So I didn't know if you had information to speak to that.
No, that was just provided for your information, just so you see that the project is in line with that type of construction.
Okay. Did you want to comment on that, Ms. Petito?
Certainly. And I don't think that it's out of the norm. I think that when we see rising construction costs, we anticipated the price to come in a little bit higher, which is when we're building the budget that we were adding some money, setting it aside because we understand we have 2 fire stations being built. When you look at the cost per square foot for this particular project, it's a little over $682 a square foot. We believe it to be reasonable, and I say that it is a lot of money, but when you look at what's being built right now, the city of Palm Coast, they just awarded their project, and when you look at their cost per square foot, they're at a little over $1,000. They're at $1,020 per square foot, and that's within the city of Palm Coast. When you look to our neighbors to the south in Volusia County, Daytona Beach, they're actually doing a project now. Their cost per square foot came in at $871 a square foot, and again, ours was at $682. I was on a call last week, and I had heard the deputy county manager down in Palm Beach County saying that just a couple years ago they were building stations for somewhere around $550, and now those costs in Palm Beach have exceeded the $1,000 mark. So I don't think that it's uncommon when you're looking at construction projects. It is what we anticipated, again, which is why we had set aside money in the budget, kind of holding it as a placeholder for our fire projects. You'll see a similar trend when we bring back the GMP for Station 51 as well.
Okay. Just interesting information. At this time, I'll go out for public comment. If there's anybody from the public wishes to comment on this item. All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for either additional questions or for action on item 8C.
I'll move for approval of 8C. Consideration on a guaranteed maximum price proposal for Meyer Najam Construction for, where are we, Station 50.
Okay, great, thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Carney.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Hanson. Any additional questions for Mr. Tabassian or Ms. Petito? Yes, Ms.
I had a
Richardson.
question. Are we going to have any outside money coming to this in grants?
I'll let Hamid speak to it, but I believe this is the one that we had gotten a legislative appropriation for, I believe. It's either this one or the other
I just
one.
want to make sure.
Yes, the project is getting $10 million. It's a legislative appropriation that is coming through the Department of Financial Services,
Okay.
state.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I've got a motion by Commissioner Carney, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. This moves us down to the county administrator's report.
Thank you. Just a couple things. As a follow-up to an email that I had sent out on September 18th, looking at our upcoming calendar for board meetings, you have a board meeting scheduled on December 15th at 5 p.m. It occurs on the first night of Hanukkah. Sunset is estimated to occur around 5:30 that day. I know that we usually have a daytime meeting followed by an evening meeting each month, but due to the timing of the holiday, does the board wish to consider moving the 5 p.m. meeting to another daytime meeting? Which would mean you have 2 9 a.m. meetings that month.
Any comments?
I'm okay with it, but it's up to you.
Seeing that there was an issue earlier this year, I think it would be in our best interest to just go ahead and make it to a second day if everybody's okay with that, just for the fact that
Anybody
that
else?
would be right.
I'm fine. Mrs. Petito put out any, several conflicts that we might have, and that was her recommendation.
Okay. All right, you've got consensus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited to announce that we'll be receiving a grant from the Florida Inland Navigation District in the amount of $302,500. That's a 50-50 grant. The total project cost is $605,000, and this is for some needed boat basin seawall repairs and some dredging at Bing's Landing. So they will be officially presenting the award to us at the upcoming Community Outreach by Find. It's going to be held at the Palm Coast Community Center on October 16th at 6 p.m. I believe you all got an invitation. And then just to provide an update, we are continuing to work with the City of Palm Coast and some animal stakeholder groups. We've already had 2 meetings so far. Our next meeting for the task force is set for October 17th. So as more develops, I'll let you know. And that concludes.
Where's that meeting?
The Palm Coast meeting or the Find? It's
No, for the animal shelter?
We've been meeting in the administrative conference room over at City Hall. So it's city staff, myself, Jorge, and Mr. Orr.
Okay.
So we have that scheduled for the 17th.
What, do you have a time on that?
It's not really open to the public. It's more staff working, but let me look real quick.
That's a rough, busy day.
The
for me.
17th, we've got that at 8:30 in the morning. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Petito?
I have one. I was going to bring it up under comments, but I can ask it now. At the last meeting, we talked about reaching out to the municipalities about the importance of funding, a funding stream and maintenance for Reach 2. I asked you were out of town. I then asked if I could see a draft of it. You said it wasn't ready yet. Do you have it yet?
I have a draft letter. I was waiting for comments back from engineering. I had gotten Hamid's comments Sunday night, and I believe while sitting in this meeting, I've gotten them back from Ansley.
Okay.
So we should have something together today to share with you.
Okay, great.
Take a look at.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to county attorney reports. Mr. Rodriguez.
Sure. I have several matters. The first one was brought to my attention, especially since we just had the consideration of the adoption of the bylaws for the Industrial Development Authority. Some of the members have expressed their intention to try to increase the scope of the IDA in trying to come and enter into the realm of an economic advisory council. So one of the things I'm looking for is a consensus, if you wish, to what direction that this commission wants to take, whether you want to explore the idea of creating an economic advisory council, whether the IDA can actually sit as kind of a hybrid board as both an IDA and an economic advisory council, as long as the scope of such an advisory council is of an advisory nature, so that when they sit as a board wearing 2 hats, it doesn't violate the constitutional requirements, prohibitions against dual office holding, or whether the county wishes to engage in what other counties do, which is to kind of partner with a nonprofit to serve as an economic advisory council in order to try to drum up and attract businesses to the county. But one of the things I said was I'd like to get the consensus of the council if this is even something you wish to entertain or to consider. If you do so, then I could come back with comparisons of what other jurisdictions have done, what other boards, the scope of those boards have done. This was a matter that was brought up by the IDA. I did attend their one meeting, and I tried to explain to them that sitting as the IDA, they could not be an economic advisory board because their roles were really limited to what the statute provides their roles are to be. They wanted to expand the scope of their bylaws to include that. It's like, no, we got to narrow it down. You guys are an IDA, and the statute provides what your roles are. So, but I'd said I would broach the subject with you guys, and if it's something that you want to look into further, I'm seeking that consensus. If you don't, that's fine by me as well.
All right. Thoughts, Commissioner Hanson?
Well, we've tried it once before. I would look at the Flagler County history, and it was a miserable. It lasted a couple of years, and then they were fired. And we went to what kind of the model that we have now, where we have an economic advisor that's on staff, and that failed for a while because that person was fired. But so we have a history of trying to do this. I would be of the mind not to do that, not to let them do that. I think we've been down that road and it didn't work.
Okay.
So.
Anybody else?
You mentioned nonprofits. Well, who are the typical nonprofits that do this? Do you know by chance?
I mean, just as an example, when I was looking initially, so Martin County partners with they have a board it's a nonprofit board that looks at attracting businesses for the county, and they are somewhat, kind of partially affiliated with the county, but they're not a county board. But they work closely with the county in order to attract businesses. So that's the separation. So you don't have an actual governmental entity, a board that you're appointing that is codified with your delegate authority to. So those are the different relationships. So I would have given you a survey of here's how different jurisdictions handle these matters, and then whatever course you want to take, if you even have the appetite to take such a course.
I think I'd always thought when we appointed them that we were going to give them some runway for a trial period to try to, use their connections and everything else to bring in business. So in my mind, it was like that, I didn't realize they'd be so tightly regulated. So I don't know what that looks like, if there's an opportunity to do that with that particular group, to say, okay, here's your 12-month run, or what, this is how you have to operate it. That's what my mind, I don't know. We're not like Brevard where there are all those nonprofits like that running around, because I know of some down there that are in the business of making business. I don't think we have anything like that here.
If I could say, I've been attending their meetings, and unfortunately, I think that when we appointed them, their understanding was that they would be seeking and communicating and connecting with successful businesses and bringing their expertise here. And unfortunately, I think they were shocked and surprised from day one, not knowing what their duties are, their requirements, and their understandings. I know they're anxious to do work, and they want to get to work. And you can see the disappointment in their hearts when they didn't really know sort of where they're going, what they can do and what they can't do, and their limitations. And it would be a travesty to lose the opportunity of losing these people if they weren't able to do what they felt they could do or should do or would want to do under the restrictions of what our guidelines are. So I don't know where we go from here, but I did ask council as far as what options we might have to try to keep this going to hopefully get a positive outcome so we could build our economic, financial strength with new businesses. So I'm just going to leave it at that, if that makes any sense at all.
Thank you.
I did also attend the meeting, although I can't say that they had the resolution in front of them, so they should have known what they were being asked to do. Having said that, I did see the former economic development, what do we call them, council? We had a council, didn't we? It was a council. I saw them get unfunded at 10:30 at night at a board meeting, which I felt was very unjust, very unfair. They worked hard. The commissioner that made the motion to unfund them based it on return on investment and return on, I believe at the time, I could be wrong, the county funded that department at about $500,000. So if we do add any subsequent scope to this committee, I did hear the words conferences. I did hear the word travel, self-travel. Did you hear that as well? Yeah.
Oh, it did. Yeah, and I tried to explain it's not necessary. That I think there's a concern when it comes to how to balance what does a board do, especially when we have an economic development director at the staff level.
Correct.
And I tried to educate them as like, well, if you sit as a board, you have to see yourselves as the legislative body establishing policy that you then direct your administrative level to implement your policy. And that sitting as a board doesn't mean I have 5 independent administrators going out and doing administrative work. I need them collegially to come up with the policy and then allow the administrators to go out and implement that policy. I don't need 5 lobbyists lobbying for the county. I need them to sit down and put their brains together to determine what is the best course of action for the county. And then once they achieve that consensus, to then go out and tell your administrator, go forth. So that's where that would be that's your jobs. That's what your delegations, what authorities to give to this board, what advisory role you give them to a staff, how much policy you give them, and that's why I thought if I get the consensus, I give you kind of a comparison of what other jurisdictions do and how they have that relation between the from the legislative level to the administrative level.
So seeing as where our model has changed and we do have new staff, I've not seen Amy ask for help from the board for any major projects. I know that economic development is very low on our priority because we don't fund it. We're going to let Palm Coast do it. Do we? I don't know. I think we should have more say in it. Do I think the people that are currently serving on the IDA are the right people? Yes, I do. When I was in Flagler Beach, I served as a commissioner, but I also served in the CRA. You got to take one hat off. You got to close that meeting, and then you go into the next meeting. I don't think it's a hard concept. I think these people are more than capable of handling that. I would like to give the new staff member some resources if it doesn't mean a lot out of their department or their budget. And if it's just an advisory board, we shouldn't have to be looking at a large expenditure or covering anything. Maybe our new staff member could give some suggestions or make, maybe, I don't know what model they worked under, but he came from Volusia, which I believe is where our former person went. I don't remember all the details, but I'm open to it. I believe that economic development and the county's lack of involvement in it has been a major problem. And being able to tackle one or two small attractions. I know we don't have everything to everybody, and for sure, the previous manager did a wonderful job on capturing what our county has and what it doesn't have. So I wouldn't mind opening the scope. We just have to see what it looks like.
Thank you. Actually, I think it's a great opportunity to kind of focus in a workshop, if we could, on economic development with our new hire. Palm Coast is going through their own economic development master plan or visioning session with the regional council right now. Their next meeting is October 23rd, 6 to 8 p.m. down at the Stage Amphitheater in conjunction with one of the other events they're doing. So they've got 2 more after that. The first one they just held to a very minimal audience. So we need to get the word out. This is, again, Palm Coast driven with the regional council, but I think the opportunity for us is to revisit what our vision is for economic development. And, you know, we tried a long time to get our experienced retirees, especially from Hammock Dunes and other areas, to participate in what the county's doing. And we have some really active people right now. So I don't want to silence them. I just don't know where they fit in. And that's kind of where I think if we take a look at the strategic plan and what our vision is for economic development in conjunction with the city, you know, where we fit in. There's some good points have been made. I think we can, you know, close a meeting and open another meeting without too much of joint conflicts. But I don't know if that's really the right way we want to do it, or if there's another model. So if there's some time you need with our new economic development director and for staff to kind of put something together, Ms. Petito, I just think it's a good time to take a focus, a really proactive focus on economic development, and so that we, again, I think the communication from economic development to the commission could definitely improve, and so is there a consensus to do that? Can we put together a workshop on just economic development?
I do think
Okay.
they're professional enough. The only thing I think about is we went from 5 to 7. So maybe we want to cut that second board down, or I don't know if we want to leave the same number.
Well, these are things we can
I'm just saying that there's opportunities there, and I think that no matter what, they're all professional. And that's really, really pertinent, because it's not an amateur group. That's my thoughts.
All right.
Thank you.
So do you need any additional direction, or is that enough to go on?
No, that should be enough. I'll work with economic development and piggyback on one of the other workshop scheduling, and we can have a discussion as to possible avenues to present. I can have alternatives showing just examples of what other governments do, and then we can go further from there.
Okay.
I just wanted to get your consensus to move before I move ahead.
Yes, sir.
All right. The second matter is more of an update. So tomorrow, the City of Flagler Beach will be having, I believe, their first public hearing on their annexations. I will update you. We will, Assistant County Attorney Sarah Spector will be attending the meeting, and she will be presenting on the record those matters of county interest, which we have already been exchanging with the city. Namely, there is the issues regarding, there are some issues regarding their actual petition for annexation. We have been trying to work to get clarification from the city. We have still not received a straight answer yet from the city, especially because this is an annexation that involves multiple property owners, and under the law, any voluntary annexation petition requires a signature of every owner that is within the annexed area, and we haven't gotten those yet to confirm whether we have a valid petition. So we want to have the county, we want to, at a minimum, put the county's concerns on the record, and that at least reserves the county's rights moving forward, both in terms of the annexation issues as well as their comprehensive plan amendment issues moving forward. So we will be presenting those. Sarah will be attending the meeting tomorrow night and presenting those on behalf of the county. I just wanted to let you know that we will be doing so. And then the third item, it was brought to my attention, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Is there an enclave still?
No, the end result will not result in an enclave. Now, there are some unique questions because there are at least 2 parcels where you're going to end up with there's an imaginary property line that's being created solely by their application. One is the last bottom southern parcel. However, the property appraiser's office has kind of said, well, we can just split and create the line, and they'll create a lot split, and that'll then allow them to have that lot be kind of split off, and that then stops you from having the enclave, especially because that lot was part of an abandoned, it's been basically a vacated or abandoned plat. There is a second parcel, and it's actually the road. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the road, but the road is a platted parcel. Yet they run the line, their annexation line splits that road, where part of that road, it's a private road. Part of that road is in the city, and part of the road remains in the county. Yet there's a dividing line. However, that is a platted lot. And you're going to create one lot within 2 jurisdictions. So that will be a question we will raise on the record. That then will then fall in line with questions regarding what you have is the existing PUD and development agreements and obligations under that, how they're going to carry over to after annexation. Those will then raise questions as to whether there is certain issues relating their comprehensive plan amendments and whether there's going to be any inconsistencies, which could open the door for potential challenges to their comprehensive plan. Those are separate legal matters from an annexation challenge. But these are all issues we need to put on the record with the city in order to preserve our rights going forward if it gets to the point where we have to sit down and examine whether this is something that the county needs to address. We just need to we need to preserve our rights.
So you mentioned the property assessor can essentially, is that typical? Is that something they can do?
They have done in the past. It's just a lot split. It turns out to just be a lot split. And it's one lot, they'll just do a split. We have broached the subject with them.
Okay.
Especially since it's no longer a platted lot. They would not be able to simply split a platted lot, especially in a plat like this. We would object to, no, that would constitute a replat. And especially since the property has not been annexed yet, that's a county lot therefore you'd have to come back to the county for a replat in order to create a new parcel. But my understanding is that plat has been abandoned. Therefore, we've got just a meets and bound description, and they're just going to have just a simple lot split, which the property appraiser has effectuated in the past.
So Sarah will be putting all this on the record.
Yes.
For us.
Yes, she has her presentation ready to go to put on the record on behalf of the county tomorrow night. So the third matter, it was brought to my attention that the 5 of you probably received late last week an email from somebody who purported to be a sovereign citizen. I was told just to give you a kind of if you're not aware of the sovereign citizen movement, this is and they asked if you wanted to reach out in response. If you intend or do so, please consult with my office for any further communication, so I can give you kind of a background of this type of movement, of these types of theories, before you even contemplate, if you wish to do such a response. I'm just advising you of that. Aside from that, that pretty much wraps up for me today. I think you've heard enough from your attorney.
Thank you. Will you be sharing the points for the annexation with us, or be able to?
Yes, I will provide you a copy of. Sarah has made a detailed memorandum, so I'll provide each of you a copy of the detailed memorandum outlining each of the points of issues that we have pinpointed.
And this one's been going on for a while. Is the comp plan done, or is that still on?
They're concurrent. These are going to be my
comp plan and rezoning.
My understanding is that the annexation, the comp plan, these are all going concurrently.
Okay.
I can't see the meeting, but is it a public noticed meeting, or
Yes.
is it an actual?
I think it is their public, it's their
Because they
city
don't
council
do,
meeting.
they wouldn't cover any of that until their general meeting. So they're going to have some public meetings first.
So my understanding, and I know I know there's a meeting tomorrow. Let me
Okay.
confirm again with Sarah. 'Cause
That's all right.
But there is a meeting, and we are in attendance.
All right. All right, this will be our second community outreach segment, 30-minute segment for public comment. If anybody wishes to address the commission, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, good morning again, George Mayo, Palm Coast. I haven't been attending personally the meetings lately, but I have been watching on TV. And since then, I want to say thank you to Commissioner Hanson, as he said he is not going to run again. Of the time that I've been here, I've known you to be honest and truthful and doing the best that you can for this community. And we've talked personally, just chit-chat and whatever, and I just, again, want to say thank you for all that you've done for this county. Thank you very much. My second thing is that watching on YouTube, when you're watching the meeting, as the camera focuses on whichever commissioner is speaking, you could see you could see your nameplate, everybody knows who you are. When you have a subject that comes up, whether it's Adam or Hamid or whatever they come up, sometimes they're too far away from the microphone. People who watch all the time know who they are, but if somebody tunes in, they may not understand who they are. And I didn't know if the IT department, whoever puts it out, could put a graphic of when they start speaking their name and the department they are working for, so that they would understand the subject at hand and know who is speaking for the county. I don't know if that's possible, but, you know, just like you're watching a baseball game, they show a graphic of who's coming up to bat, et cetera. So if you could possibly do that, whoever is speaking legally for the county, you know who they are and why they're there. Thank you very much.
Great. Adam, what's your batting average? Next speaker, please.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. On the subject of the advisory board, I would highly recommend that you approve that advice from the members that are trying to do diligent work on behalf of the county. I've used numerous advisory boards in my past. It brought power, it brought change, and it brought civility into the meetings. I don't understand why there's such a hesitant on an advisory board. Advisory boards, the way I understand it, right now, my outlook on the county seems to be more, they seem to be more power in tourism. Here you're going to have an advisory board that's going to try to bring industry, good paying jobs, okay? Tourism doesn't bring good paying jobs, okay? It brings minimum wages. We also have a problem with affordable housing. You know, they subject it to 89.9 as being the amount for affordable housing. What tourism is going to bring 89.9? Okay, matter of fact, what industry are you going to bring? It's going to bring 89.9 to bring affordable housing to the Flagler County. Numbers don't lie. You got to look at numbers, and you guys got a challenge. I appreciate your due diligence in working here. You guys are trying to make a change. You've made a change, like I talked about earlier. I have no problem posting my poster board for 30 days. I have no problem with letters going out to 300 feet without my property, and I have no problem with neighbors coming to oppose my project as long as they have a zoning legitimate reason to deny me. You can't have feelings involved in these decisions. You can't have wish lists involved in these decisions. It should be my application. I'm sorry I got off subject, but my application again, and I will talk to Greg about it, and I'll express my my discomfort, and again, I think the advisory board would help with the planning and for maybe making changes to make the applicant, because I feel the applicant should have, not the upper edge, but the applicant should have, like in my decision when it was a tie vote and it was later ruled a no vote. And even in baseball, when the judgment's really close, it goes to the runner. So I'm going to leave it like that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public speakers? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for final comments.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify because I just got the information. So tomorrow's Flagler Beach meeting is their planning commission. So we will be attending their planning commission meeting. That's the first one. And then, but we will also be attending both of their public hearings of the city commission.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. All right, so we'll go to commissioner reports and comments. Commissioner Hanson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I got a couple things. Just kind of general information for my fellow commissioners. The issue of critically eroded beach designation is something we're going to have to deal with, because if we get that, it makes funding and our eligibility much greater. So that's something that's out there that we are going to have to deal with, and I would hope that we would push and together and try to get that done. If we had a consensus to have a shoreline workshop, maybe with the people we've hired to do these things, Taylor Engineering or Moffitt and Nichols, whoever, and have them give us guidance on how to do that, how to get that done, so that we had a 100-year beach to go to work with and deal with the outcroppings and whatever. And I'd like to have that workshop scheduled if that's okay with the commission, with the county here. On the 30th.
May I ask a question? Haven't we done this? Haven't we done this? Didn't we call for one before when Pam and I were just new and we asked, we had our engineering company come, we had several presentations at that workshop.
But they didn't do this.
They didn't do what?
Because Olson Engineering was afraid to take this on, because they never, ever went against FDEP, ever. And this does. We're challenging FDEP to
On
make
the
us,
use of the, I'm sorry,
to
okay.
make us critically eroded beach, which they to date have refused to do. And it's a simple matter when you look at especially look at Sea Colony, where there's no dune anymore.
Right.
They don't think that's critically eroded. So it's, and also up in north of Marineland Acres as you get up into the park and Marineland. They don't consider that, they're just south of Marineland. They don't consider that critically eroded beach. So,
But at our legislative session, I'm sorry, Commissioner, but at our legislative session, it came up that here we are trying to protect the critically eroded. It may or may not be considered, so it's like the chicken or the egg, right?
Well, we're going to do
And our
the-
senator said to us, I hear you. You're
Right.
not the only one in
Right.
this position.
Right.
If you don't fix it, you'll ruin it. If we don't give you the money, you can't fix it.
Right.
I think we have a senator that's totally open to hearing us. I think if we went to the senator or we went to the state, I don't see Taylor Engineering. We need to get our lobbyist behind what we want done. I don't know that Taylor Engineering is going to help us at the legislative level, and this is at the state level.
well, Kim, you're right. We can take that method, but FDEP is not going to operate on us saying we want it done, or the Congress or the Senate saying they want it done. They operate on engineering documents, engineering reports, and that's something that only Taylor Engineering or Olson or Moffitt or whatever the company is. That's who can provide that kind of data.
Well,
That
we had to
can't-
have
we
that
can't do
data
that.
to do the beach management plan in 2023. So we did not do any of this in 2023?
No, we did not.
You did a beach
address-
management plan without having engineered studies.
Oh, we did, but it did not, as I said before, it did not address critically eroded beaches. That was not an issue. We have to get that done. I mean, we can just go plug along like we're doing, and it's costing us more money. But if we can get all, not all 18 miles, it'd be great, but almost all 18 miles critically eroded beaches, then we qualify for more money, more help.
Without a doubt.
With more help.
Right.
So I would like to have that done. And Moffitt Nickel can do that for us. On the 30th of September, we had a presentation over at the Hammock Community Association, on the three big projects we have going on over there. One of them was the redo of the Malacomper Canal. And everybody, we had a good show, and Hamid put on a really great discussion for the three different projects. But the one that got the most attention was the Malacomper culvert. And I think for us to understand is we can solve 80% of the problem over there by just doing phase one, which is the culvert under A1A and then expanding the ditch to the intercoastal. But the other piece of that, and I think you'll see that'll come up to us, that phase one of that is something we'll be voting on. But the other 20% of that is, what do you do with the rest of the canal? And it's expensive to try to fix that whole canal. So something that we're going to have to decide as a group here and with engineering help is, can we do phase one and then just reinforce the existing canal? Because the existing canal has failed in 5 spots recently where it started caving in. So I think we need help from the engineering department to say, what can we do that's affordable to fix that canal? I don't know that we have the stomach to put the amount of money it's going to take to do that whole canal. I think it's around $12 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. But anyway, that's coming, and we're going to have to vote on it. I want you all be aware of that. And the last thing is just kind of something we all know is coming. We just started a new fiscal year, which means in 2 months we're going to start working on the next budget. It's coming. So I think that it behooves us to be ready in December when Ms. Petito says, okay, what are your driving things? What do you want to see in the budget? That we need to really concentrate on infrastructure this year. We've got stormwater problems on the West County. We have the beach problem, and we have roads throughout the unincorporated area that need to be taken care of. And I think the issue is going to be, how do we pay for it? We know we got to do it, but how do we pay for it? And I think it's going to take a combination of things that we've all talked about, but I think we're good. And I think in this next year's budget, we need to nail it down so that we have a consistent stream of money that doesn't change on a year-to-year basis that goes towards infrastructure. And we all know what the choices are going to be. I mean, there's a designated, we could use ad valorem money, we could use sales tax, we could use tourist tax, fuel tax, MSBUs, MSTUs, we could use special districts. There's other ideas out there, but I think it behooves the 5 of us to think about that over the next 2 months. And so when Ms. Petito starts this next budget process, we can give her some rational ideas and thoughts on how to do that. So, and I think we're smart enough, the 5 of us are smart enough to do that and to get that, to help her do that next year's budget, because I think we did it this year piecemeal. We're not going to be able to do that every year. It'll be too disruptive to try to do that every year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Pennington.
Great comments. Mr. Hanson, do you want to go ahead and get a consensus for your workshop today?
I thought I had it.
I think so. I just want to make sure we put it on the record.
I thought I saw the nods.
Yes.
Well, no, that's a good point. I think I had a follow-up question too on from staff on what we needed for that. So I'm looking to Ms. Petito on a critically eroded beach workshop. What would we be looking at?
We actually are looking at scheduling a workshop with you, with our consultant, Moffitt and Nickel, on December 15th. They're finishing up the work on Reach 3, so that survey work should be finishing up, and our consultant was pretty optimistic about the results. We're also working on the designation for critically eroded, so I think timing-wise, we're due for a workshop, and we'll be ready December 15th if that works for the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. My turn?
Yes.
I just wanted to bring up a good opportunity for us as a board to do something in the community. I don't know if everybody's familiar, but Sheriff Staley is approaching his 50 years in law enforcement. And in his tenure with us, he's been responsible for, I believe it's a 50% reduction, which is historic in this county in terms of crime. And he's very active and involved in the community and serving us well, and has really risen as a sheriff in the state of Florida and become very well loved for all of his actions. And I'm wondering, I wanted to come to this board today to see if there was any way we could come to a consensus on recognition for his accomplishments. Everywhere I go, everyone loves our sheriff, and he is very well respected, and he's done a tremendous job in our community. So with that, I wanted to bring up for discussion to get a consensus from this board to honor Sheriff Staley. I wasn't here when they constructed the building. I've heard from many, though, that he was led that team and was very involved in overseeing the construction of that. So I wanted to see if we could get to a consensus before he celebrates his 50th year in law enforcement. If we wanted to see if bringing back to the board a way that we can honor Sheriff Staley by possibly naming the building after him. It'll still be a sheriff's office, but it would be Sheriff Staley's office. Any questions, comments, thoughts for consideration?
I kind of think that's something to do at his retirement.
Well,
I think
that
would be the appropriate time. I'm all for naming the building after him, but I think it should be done at his retirement.
I was looking at our policy, though. It doesn't expressly state it has to be done.
I read it too.
At retirement. And I really think the culmination of 50 years in law enforcement, just how well he served in our community and his involvement with that, maybe would rise to the level of the naming. But
There's
I
been
bring it here.
so many things that the sheriff has gone outside the box to do. He's just made Flagler recognized as the safe county, probably the second safest in the state is what we've been known for, and 39 in the country, if I'm not mistaken. That we never had any accolades like that, and I think that keeps our community even more healthy. I think he's doing a wonderful job. I ask people all the time, and I've never heard a crossword about anything he did except maybe from people who were doing something they shouldn't have been doing. So I don't see any reason to not continue with that thought. Commissioner Pennington, we all know he's out on the streets. He's out there 3 o'clock in the morning. He's got signs when people do something wrong. He's really been a man for all of us. And 50 years, most people retire after 25 years. So 50 years in police work, and I think is a great opportunity for us to make him shine a little bit higher. That's all.
Okay, anybody else?
Is that done through an ordinance? How do we do it?
So, and I think there was recently some information sent to us about it. So we would bring it back here for consensus. I think through resolution.
Oh, it has to be an agenda item?
It would be, if it's going to be an official action of the county commission, it would be
Okay.
a resolution.
Yes.
Right,
And
resolution.
And it has to be a commission movement, right?
and
I'm
it
fine
actually
with-
is a part of growth management that actually has to review the application before it's brought back to us.
So I don't think there's an application at this time. And I don't know who would sponsor it, would be us or the sheriff's office. I see Mr. Strobridge in the back, so if you'd like to come up.
Mark Strobridge. I'm actually now in my personal capacity to talk about this just briefly, if I may. I reviewed the policy and put together some of those points, and if I can just hit the highlights and be done and get out of here, because we do have a couple other critical issues we need to talk about later. Anyways, the application talks about, it's the board's authority, certainly does, that the naming, recognition, or signage plaques shall be for one or more of the following, and there's a list: historical names relevant to the facility, geographic names, culture names, persons or organizations who made significant contributions of the facility being named. He certainly did that. There's no question that design, build, and every other aspect he was involved in. Another one of the qualifications within that is persons or organizations who made significant contributions to a community over an extended period of time. He's been your sheriff, now approaching 9 years, plus additional time as serving in this county as the undersheriff. The person must be provided public service one of three ways: financial gifts, as an elected official, a community volunteer, or long-term sponsorship agreements. Of course, he is an elected official. And finally, on those talking points, there's absolutely no cost for the entire process to the county. All the funding is done. That, my understanding is that at any time in the future, it can also be renamed or the name removed as a result of that. The last and final thing is, as we have hit every piece of the criteria, the question becomes, do we do it now as we get close to his 50th celebration? Is it something that everybody wants to wait? And I would say that had the policy that was done in 2015 indicates the person living or dead, and if it had come out of another naming situation, certainly it would have said, well, they can't be serving still as a result, and it doesn't say that here. What I would say to us is tomorrow is not promised to any of us, and this is one chance that I wanted to bring forth an idea that Commissioner Pennington has championed for me, that we can say thank you. That's all I have.
Appreciate it.
I guess the only thing I'd mention is that although there's not a stipulation that says we can't name a building or do something for somebody who's currently sitting as an elected official, I think if you read the policy, the intent is very clear in that it's for recognizing somebody for their period of service at a completion of their service. It was brought up about the Kim Hammond Justice Center being named when he was actually still a judge, but that was before we did the facility naming policy, and one could probably assume that something like that occurring could have been the genesis for the naming facility. If we're going to do this, I think we have to take a look at the policy. The policy is going to have to be reviewed, because if there's a loophole in there for recognizing existing elected officials that is what we need to be looking at, absent from any names associated for it. It needs to be analyzed as a policy decision, regardless of whose name is attached to it. I'm the biggest supporter here for Sheriff Staley and the things that he's done. He's been exceptional in his in the improvements that he's done and his working with the county on many different fronts, especially with that building. But from a policy standpoint, this would set a precedent that's not specifically named within the policy. And I, as a policy geek, I just want to make sure we look at this absent names or emotion, because this is the policy that continues beyond this is what future boards will be dealing with. So, I mean, we really need to consider the unintended consequences or of doing it. I mean, I'm open for a review, if we go to the next workshop and review policy as policy.
So I don't disagree with you on that, but I think so. Here, I'm just going to take my stance on it, and then everybody can decide what they'd like to do. He's celebrating 50 years. I'm very comfortable with doing this. His name's on the door now over there. I mean, it's just no different than any other door here. It'll still be the sheriff's office for most people, that's what they'll call it. But I have no issues or concerns doing this. And I almost think this is that one exception of a person in office where it would almost rise to the level of our current policies supporting everything to name it after him. So I don't disagree that, if we want to make a policy change going forward after this, sure, I think we can take a look at that, given the cancel culture that exists, and maybe strengthen that policy by putting in things such as if you're arrested or you have whatever, that a board needs to review the naming. So we could do that. But I think in this one exception, I'm comfortable with moving forward of getting the application submitted and bringing it back to the board if there's a consensus to do so, and then workshopping in a future workshop to change it going forward for just all the millions of reasons. Is it's an old policy and it's got some things that need to be twerked. That's my 2 cents.
So we would, based on Commissioner Pennington's request, there would need to be 3 of us to have either move this forward
I
on the
think
naming rights or to look at it. I mean, it says there's other ways to do it. There's plaques, there's other ways that can be utilized. So I think we should be looking at all options.
I think it needs a majority. Am I mistaken when I read that? Take a look.
You would need 3.
Is it 3 or 4? I thought it was 4, maybe. No super majority, correct?
No, I think it was just a simple majority in order for it to occur.
All right.
And do we need to do a roll call for this then?
If you
I haven't heard
sure.
from
So
everybody.
Can I just clarify that?
Yes.
What we're deciding today is whether or not we want to accept an application, which will be discussed at another workshop along with the policy itself.
The intention is to bring it back to the 20th, October 20th. So an application to be submitted with the name change, growth management to review it, and then a formal discussion with vote on the 20th to coincide with the, I believe it's 50th year next month.
And you're saying the policy
And then future
right now,
workshop, the policy.
policy right now is silent to whether or not the person has to be retired, passed, or whatever.
Right. It just talks to
So-
being a contributor.
No, it's not silent. I mean, the current rule, the current policy allows for for a facility to be named after someone that is living. The current policy states to actually name a county facility after someone, and the quote in the policy is, will be a rare event. That's actually whether somebody is living or dead.
Right.
And then there are going to be the criteria.
But it
as-
doesn't say they have to be retired from that
No.
job.
No, there's no specific requirements. Actually, I was asked to look at the policy and see what the determinations were. I also then went to other jurisdictions, just on a personal note, because I came from Miami-Dade County, and went to high school a couple blocks from Jose Canseco Boulevard, I can tell you what the ramifications are when time passes and you want to then reconsider the naming of a road to somebody. So Miami-Dade County actually has specific requirements that they cannot be named after elected officials. There's actually like a waiting period after elected officials, kind of like being elected into the Hall of Fame. Once you're out of office, you have a 5-year waiting period before you can have something named after you down in Miami-Dade County as an example, or if it's someone who has passed. But that's something for you to consider in a workshop if you want to reevaluate and review your policy. But as far as your policy is concerned, as long as you evaluate the criteria that you currently do have for the naming of a facility for someone, and that is evaluated, and you vote on it, then you have followed the criteria that your policy provides.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I think I'm just sitting here thinking about the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center. I'm thinking about, I still call it Flagler Auditorium. I mean, I think the name, I think it's kind of old-fashioned, to be honest with you, but who am I to say? You go to a lake and the lake is named after someone, you still call it something pond. I understand the relevance and the importance and that we're saying thank you is basically what we're doing. But like Commissioner Pennington said, it's always going to be the Sheriff's Operations Center. I mean, I don't want to downplay it. I don't think we'll ever in our county's time see another Rick's Daily. The 50 years is double time. You know, you retire from the military, then you go on and retire from a civilian job. He's done that. So it is significant. I hate to see a policy hold us up. So I'm willing to move forward.
And I'll say this. This is moving to the application process. We'll come back for our formal vote, and the public will, weigh in one way or the other, as they always do, for that. And you said rare event, and I think of, Sheriff Staley as a rare event, 50 years, and his involvement. And I lived in this community when we had Crips and blood gang.
Right.
You remember that?
That's right. I remember.
Drive-by shooting on my street and everything else. So I do really can feel the impact of his leadership with that. So I'm comfortable with it. But like I said, if the policy going forward, someone wants to clean it up, I can completely understand that.
Well, you've got 3. We will move it to the 20th. Will we workshop it beforehand or just put it on the agenda?
My understanding is you want it to be on the agenda for consideration. So growth management will prepare the packet and present it as part of the agenda item with all of the findings pursuant to what the resolution requires.
All right, very good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Carney.
I'm just going to report on some things that I've done over the past couple weeks. I did attend the Department of Juvenile Justice meeting. I have nothing to report on that. Again, juvenile justice, here we are again. There's always somebody from the Sheriff's Department on the call. It's actually a Zoom meeting. Our stats are relatively good. We have several domestic violence related juvenile truancies. But overall, the people, I leave that meeting feeling pretty comfortable with where we're going with our juveniles. And then just attending the 20th anniversary for the youth center, we're giving what we can, but we do need to recognize that our youth is definitely our future. I did go to the chamber event. That was very well done. Thank you, everyone, for the legislative delegation. I look forward to moving in next steps with our legislative and policy asks. We had AHAC, Advisory Housing, no, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee training, which was not mandatory, but several of the AHAC committee attended, and then we had our meeting immediately after. We are working on the 2025 report and recommendations to this board and to the Palm Coast City Council. I met with the planning department and with Devery at Human Services to go over some of the information and some of the concerns that I had. Unlike other counties, the majority of the affordable housing is within Palm Coast, not necessarily in Flagler County, but we need to be prepared. We need to have our initiatives. We need to have our ordinances. There are 3 state-mandated incentives. We're working on those to clean those up a little. We did redo our bylaws, and in December, you will get the AHAC report along with some recommendations. I did speak with Mr. Rodriguez, and I'm very happy that he has vast experience in Live Local and AHAC. I went to the planning, I went to the airport master plan kickoff meeting. It was very informative. There were some citizens there from Palm Coast. They have a pretty strict schedule that they're going to be following, working with the master plan advisory, the actual company. And I'm sure that we will receive updates as things move along. Mrs. Petito answered my question about the letter that's supposed to go out on Reach 2. And I dug in a little on the easements in Reach 2 to find out that Flagler Beach was still sitting on 33. In Flagler Beach, there is an asset account where they put money every year to acquire those remnants along A1A, and the city of Flagler Beach actually owns 1/3 of those remnants, which was kind of smart of us to do. But I don't know what the wording problem was. I don't know what held everything up, but on October 23rd, we will get 33 easements from the city of Flagler Beach. And my question is why it took so long. I'll meet with Sean when he gets off from vacation, but we need to keep pushing on the remaining 60 or so easements so Reach 2 can be blessed by the state. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Just a few things to review. Wanted to follow up with everybody on the email I sent them. Yes.
Oh, that's okay.
I did it again.
You know, being number
I
5
gotta start at your side.
is a very tricky number.
I'm going
to play Lotto 5 all the time. That's okay. I don't take it personally at all. As a matter of fact, I don't have much to say except I want to thank everybody who's come here and to let you know that FC3, our local LAA, had a phenomenal turnout. We had a wonderful annual meeting. I want to thank the staff, Amy, and Deborah was not able to be there, but I know she did 90% of all that work because she's a workhorse, amazing woman. And we had people they all received their, the word went out of my head. They received funds from us. Grants, thank you very much, during our granting program through City of Palm Coast's monies. And it was a very joyous event, very interesting. We also were able to adjust the children's photo contest, and unfortunately, they usually do that additionally at Creekside. Due to Creekside's cancellation, we made it into a single one-time event. So there will be some funds given to some children that have really been part of that team. So with that, thank you all for your patience and for being good stewards of our community. So thank you for that. Andy, take it away.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, my apologies. So following up on the email that I sent you regarding the FAC policy adoptions, right, we got two of ours moved forward, which was the glitch bill for Senate Bill 180 and the beach line easements. The other one that got moved to committee for November was the one on tourism, the TDT fifth penny. The discussions, as I mentioned, was, and I followed up this meeting with our lobbyists just to review next steps, and the temperature for TDT changes is very lukewarm. They're based on last session where they proposed to reallocate all the TDT taxes. Nobody wants to make any movement on TDT taxes at all this year. They don't want to give them any ammunition to open it up and review it. So the recommendation from lobbyists was probably wait a year. We'll have new leadership in the Senate and in the House. And as Senator Leak has said, it's still a mess. There's the House and the governor are still fighting, and there's really not a great atmosphere for getting things done this year. So we'll probably go to FAC in November, and probably if everybody's okay, we'll do this again next year and submit, and unless you want to keep fighting it. Okay. I'll take that message back, and we'll probably go ahead and withdraw that one until next year. The others, our lobbyist is going to be looking at where the movement goes on 180 and get behind that, and make sure that there's a couple different ideas. Some are targeting specific portions of it. Others just want to get away, remove the two sections that were problematic. I think it was 18 and 28. But pretty confident there'll be some movement on that. And then we'll be working in the next month on fellow counties that can help us support the expansion of the easement that was granted to Walton County on the Gulf of America side, and expand it to the statewide, so any coastal county that meets the requirements. So there's about a handful of other counties that qualify along with us that we can pull their support and try and, right, the next step is finding sponsors. So we'll talk with our legislators and see if there's somebody in that area that is comfortable moving that. A couple public meetings that I attended, and just want to give out some additional information. City of Bunnell had their own visioning session that's ongoing. The next meeting for that is October 28th, if anybody is interested in following the future growth of Bunnell. The Northeast Florida Regional Council is coordinating that, and they're also coordinating with the City of Palm Coast, like I mentioned, on their economic development plan, and their next meeting, I think I mentioned when the next one was in Town Center. That one was October 23rd. So if those are on your calendar, if you've got some open time, it would be worth going to those events. I think that'll do it for me. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the audience for hanging with us till the end. If there's any other comments, take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned. No workshop today. You have the afternoon off.